Over 20 years ago, Alex Jones created the media platform called InfoWars, and in the decades since, it's grown into a truly remarkable institution with over 200 radio affiliates, tens of millions of unique website visitors monthly, and a 24/7 live news TV channel broadcasting from state-of-the-art studios in Austin, Texas. InfoWars has become the most trusted independent news source in the country, dedicated to delivering breaking news, live coverage of special events, and exclusive reports you won't find anywhere else. While the old guard media struggles to maintain supremacy in a landscape rocked by innovation and technology, InfoWars has been at the forefront of the information revolution. From 8 million radio listeners, over 2 million YouTube subscribers, or the billions of views of our online content, InfoWars proves dominant in every facet of media we enter. For the hardest-hitting reports, uncompromising analysis, for high-profile interviews and bombshell revelations, accept no substitutes. Demand truth. Demand InfoWars. InfoWars. Tomorrow's news today.
CNN is the enemy of the American people. They work for the globalists. They work for the communist Chinese. And that information's coming out. The president's dead on. They have been inciting violence. They've been inciting war. They've been launching all sorts of different operations to break up our families. They are the tip of the globalist spear. They are an organized criminal syndicate to destabilize the nation. And they are also deeply embedded in Fox News. And there's an internal war in Fox to oust Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity. I have that directly from someone who just recently left Fox, that it is unbelievable. And they just had one of their morning shows viciously lie about me for 10 minutes this morning, America's Newsroom, trying to outdo MSNBC. I guess the young ladies on the program, we've got the clip, we may play it later, are just absolutely living on their own planet. And of course, they'll never actually show what I've said. They'll actually never show what I'm doing. They just sit there and regurgitate the same anti-free speech, anti-gun garbage. No matter how many times I clarify or how many times I apologize for the media misrepresenting or how many times I reach out to the families, you see the very people on the news saying, he won't stop attacking us. He won't quit. He's sending people to our houses. He won't quit. Stop, Jones. Jones, just stop. Stop. And then they're on the news. Jones just won't stop. He just won't stop. And they've got new levels to this. There was an article in the Daily Dot. I mean, there's so many I can't keep track of it. And it's like now I beat up a transgendered child. It's like the telephone game. They just, well, he's been banned on YouTube and Facebook, which isn't true, because he said that there's an Islamic invasion of Europe. This is an actual quote. And he brutalized a trans child. And they also say, no one's censoring me. This is not an attack. Don't run. We are your friends. Remember the Democrats kept saying, we don't want illegals to be able to vote. We're not letting illegals vote. We're not giving them driver's license so they can vote. And then now the Democratic Party officially says, we want illegal aliens to be able to vote. And they're legalizing it all over the country. But then when Trump says it, he's insane, even though they're on the news saying that they're having the illegals vote. He then says it's a bad idea. We need voter motor rules. We need to show driver's license and be a citizen to vote, which any other country in the world does. And they say he's a liar. I mean, it's incredible how stupid they think we are. And Fox News is turning into MSNBC. We have discovered absolute, complete, total espionage, high crimes and misdemeanors, treason against this nation by a multinational combine ally of the Democratic Party and Republican leadership. The intelligence agencies have been absolutely filled the last 30 years with people like John Brennan, admitted members of the Communist Party, and radical Islamic Wahhabist convert. Go read it for yourself in interviews he's given. And they'd almost completely captured and then demoralized and bankrupted this country. But at the 11th hour, 58-minute mark, 2 minutes to midnight, in came Trump and other populist nationalist movements around the world, because the globalists were arrogant and they thought they could set up a private, corporate, planetary government that was above the law and tax exempt, and that somehow, just because we were on talk radio and the internet and writing books and making films about it, that the slaves would never figure it out. Kind of like we're like animals in an enclosure at the zoo behind a glass that's only one-way glass, and they don't even know what's on the other side. Like we're in an observation tank, like fish or something, just swimming around in circles. That they would set up this unbelievable criminal system and that they would just get away with it. So they tried to ridicule and demonize us and lie about us once they figured out people were listening, but it's way too late. And that's why every channel, including Fox News with Bill Hemmer, is up there just spewing total, absolute lies about me and never showing a clip of what I've said, never showing any proof of what I've done. That's always a little telltale sign for you. And all the fake, faux outrage, we got a low-res copy. We're going to find a good one. We're good. That shaking camera can make me nauseous, thanks. And it's just illustrative of how these frauds work. It's being done to destroy all independent media. News Corps is splitting up into the Disney division and then into the news division. And the new head of the Disney division said 4 months ago, we're going to shut Alex Jones off the internet. We're going to use him as the case example along with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. And when we're done with him, we're going to deplatform everyone. And Barry Diller came out, the big liberal, former head of Fox that owns Newsweek. And he said, trust me, it's quote, look it up, trust me, by next year, he said this about a month ago, the internet will be all paid, basically a glorified Netflix. Look up his quote. Now, how are they going to do that? Are they talking about it being all paid because I'm off of it? They're talking about you. And that's what authoritarians do, is they pick somebody they think's an easy target, they demonize them, they lie about them, then they persecute that group, and they get you to accept the precedent of persecuting that group. And once they've set the precedent of persecuting that group, they then can go after everybody. It is a formula. Now, let me get into what I just broke down at the very start of this segment. The absolute, total, complete proof of organized, pure evil criminality out of Google and Alphabet, its owner company. They have already, in the last year and a half, broken Google completely. The whole thing is not what people actually search or look at, but what they force feed you. Every conservative, every libertarian, every nationalist gets downranked, blocked, controlled. We all know that. Shadow banned, just like Twitter. And I've gotten into the fact that I've talked to people at Google and others off record, and they said, Alex, we're already bringing in Chinese-style net censorship control. It's being done incrementally to where we're just going to merge the worldwide Google system with China. And we wrote an article about this 5 years ago, Paul Watson did. I wrote the article with him about the whole global social score that China's launching, and now it's coming here, and they call it Skynet. And now you see that's admitted. We were dead on. Well, I told you Apple announced 5 months ago they're moving to China, officially becoming state-run and letting the government run the iCloud. That's Reuters. Google was set up by the NSA, the CIA, and DARPA, and was supposedly a utility of American internet to promote freedom worldwide. But America's been captured, so now it is a globalist tool. And the president is getting informed and educated about this, and that's the main reason they're on every channel in the country lying about me today, saying I bully children and I do all this and I do all that and I beat up a transgender kid and they don't show you where or when. It's all lies. They've been green-lighted with propaganda like you only see before they invade an innocent country. This is war drum level beating that has now reached the level Trump was being attacked during the campaign. I am now as demonized as the president. And they want to turn the president against me and my audience and then have you turn against him. Even if the president ever needs to throw me under the bus, I say go ahead and do it, sir. But I don't think it's a smart move, and I think you already know that. Because they'll just keep misrepresenting and keep misrepresenting. And the president and others are being informed about this entire attack profile and how they're going to use it in a major campaign. Not just in 2018, but 2020, they're going to run against Trump on Alex Jones. Now, I can already see this in the tea leaves, and I talked to some high-level folks in the Pentagon, the CIA. They concur and are fully aware of this. And they're not just going to try to take the president out with this. They're going to try to take the entire First Amendment out. Now, let me give you the mega supreme bombshell, because you know I tend to just not get to it. When I saw this morning, it hit me at 4 a.m. when I woke up like a jackhammer. Like a jackhammer. Because I already knew it, I already said it, and it's hiding in plain view. And the fact that these technocrats, as they call themselves, are running circles around us. And they've been in the BBC and everywhere else saying, we need to be technotronic and technocratic, and we need to have appointed leaders of Europe by Goldman Sachs. That was a quote. And then it turned out 3 leaders of Europe have been appointed now by Goldman Sachs. The leaders of countries. Now, that's treason. How does that tie into Apple? All of it. The Intercept got the documents. Fox News was reporting it, Sky News. But they're like, is it okay? Oh, maybe it is. You know, no big deal. Google planning, they're not planning, it's already been done, to launch censored search engine in China. Now, you read the article, it goes on to say, well, actually, it's already been done. The Communist Party already uses it over there. And anything that the government doesn't like, anything that they say is sensitive, the Chinese government has fact checkers like we have Southern Poverty Law Center and Snopes and the rest of them. That Soros it runs things here. There, it's the Politburo and the Central Committee, and they go to the interface of the app that the party officials already have, and it's about to be deployed next year to China as the one approved search engine. And Google is in operation. It's got a name, and it's Operation Dragonfly. To help them in live time censor their population, report them for arrest and execution. I mean, Google is pure evil. All right, let's get right into it right now. 100%. There is a public, global, corporate criminal plan backed up by Communist China to absolutely destroy freedom worldwide and then colonize the West with giant third world populations that China and others will take zero from. There are public plans to dismantle Western, classically liberal society that the global technocrats are at war with. But to replace classical liberalism, you must become the modern counterfeit or the political body snatcher. And you must remove the real classical liberals. Ladies and gentlemen, it's so incredible. Documents obtained by The Intercept, investigative journalists Glenn Greenwald and others, confirm the outside architecture and many of the documents we've also received. Google has already launched a worldwide censorship operation, scaling up censorship 10,000% is a dead reckoning from what it was in the campaign. And it was bad in the campaign and documented. Twitter, Apple, Amazon, they are all going into hyperdrive censorship. And they're also then putting out increased levels of their own propaganda. This country is in a total war, so is Europe. The giant Islamic invasion is in full swing and is publicly admitted to bankrupt Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, this is out of The Intercept. It's also Sky News. Google plans to launch censored search engine in China, leaked documents reveal. But it was all hidden in plain view. It was always hidden in plain view. They've already been converting their worldwide search engine over to a tyranny. Twitter and Facebook have been helping in Islamic countries with their governments arrest heretics. People that deny Muhammad is the prophet are picked up and taken to prison and in many cases stoned to death or beheaded. China has killed over 110 million of their own people, it's estimated, since the revolution in 1949. Backed up by U.S. and globalist academics the entire time. It's been declassified, the CIA put them in, and now Google, in this huge data dump, is launching Operation Dragonfly. The dragon flying over the earth. And they're putting the architecture of total censorship in China, where Apple, Twitter, Google, Facebook are all moving there. Apple was the first to officially become state-run 5 months ago. And it's just all in the paper. It's in Reuters. And when officials were asked about merging with the government, they said, that's how you do it in China. We're taking advantage of no taxes. Then they call Trump a traitor for lowering our corporate tax from 40 to 15 to counter China. But then they celebrate China going, it's the place to invest. It's the best. Think about how far down the rat hole we are on this situation. And Google is already censoring here. And now they're going into China, and you read the sickening documents. They're on Infowars.com and Newswars.com. You read the sickening documents. And they just sit there talking about how to suppress the population, how to control, how to totally block any symbol or any article or any photo or any meme. And they've got AI computers that are going to do it. And they're showing it to the Chinese government, who's already adopted it and is already using it as their search engine. We first broke in 2015. In an article, Coming to America, China introduces credit score for obedient citizens. We point out that Apple and all of them are getting in line with this. Well, Apple already runs the factories of Foxconn with the suicide nets and the 18-hour workdays and the forced abortion. That's what these corporations think of people. Then they virtue signal to you all day and fund Black Lives Matter to cause a civil war in America when they don't give a you-know-what about anybody except their evil selves. So the revolution is ongoing. The transference of American infrastructure, power, intellectual systems, military systems. Most our chips are made in China. They've caught them putting back doors in them. They allow them to steal all our military technology. They got over 15,000 front companies here in the U.S. They already run all 50 major universities. They took those over. They have the Office of Personnel Management hack. They were given the Panama Canal, all the major deep water ports, 98% of rare earth minerals. The United States and the IMF and the World Bank and the EU go after you if you try to extract rare earth minerals and you're French or American or British. China, in a global secret treaty, that's what this all is, has been given it. And then there's the response. Well, they're a private company. You know, if Google wants to go over to China and help find out where Falun Gong are, who are practicing Buddhism secretly, and have them taken to facilities and have their organs harvested, that's a good thing. Hell, then why not say Hitler was a private company? That's what he was. The Nazis were a private, corrupt, evil company. So it's a private company. You know, Hitler can do what he wants. They'll probably have the New York Times tomorrow. Jones says Hitler can do what he wants. You damn liars. You scum. That's what they do, man. Most of the stuff you see isn't in quotes, or it's like one word quotes, then another word quotes, which they think the public doesn't understand. That means they're taking words like refrigerator magnet game, different words, and putting them together. So this is the sellout of the country, and the average brainwashed person doesn't even know it. And even though the country's coming back, you tune into CNN or anywhere, it's like Trump is the enemy. He's the horrible liar. He's flipped the script saying we're the enemy. Oh, he's such a genius when he's the enemy. But he shouldn't call us the enemy. And it's just the death of logic. And all these traitors signed on to selling America out. All of them got into hating America because they wanted to fantasize how they were on the winning team. And now they see it turning around. They see humanity on the organ harvesting table, figuratively and in reality. And we kind of woke up during the surgery when they were about to cut our, liver out. And we're fighting with them with the scalpel. They're going, no, we're not your enemy. Just lay back down, go back to sleep. You're having a bad dream. Hold them down. Hold down America. Shut down the press. Get rid of Trump. God, get them back strapped down. Get them under, get their guts cut out and get this one loaded up on ice and flown out of here. And shut that Jones up. He's got spirit. We can't allow that. Okay, so I just spent 2 segments on Google, secret documents, of course, leaking from the highest levels with the Chinese Communist Party, who killed 4 times the people that Hitler killed. 4 times. They've got a big professor from NYU that's come out, and we're going to get into his report, and he just says that they are purposefully destroying the West. They are teaching hatred of free speech. They are destroying our country. The globalists are bringing us down, and they're teaching Maoism as the operating system. That story's on Infowars.com by Paul Joseph Watson. You notice I've been telling you for a decade it's Maoist. Because I've been at the rallies. I've dealt with Antifa for 20 years. And they have Mao tattoos. And they believe in a Maoist uprising that'll begin with the youth in a civil war. And they did it in China. And during the Cultural Revolution, the Great Leap Forward, that was when the communists had already taken over. And then they got the young people of China to kill at least 30 million people by hand, including their own parents. And then another 40 million starved to death. And then that was just under Mao. And then David Rockefeller wrote in the New York Times when Mao died. You just type in David Rockefeller editorial praising Mao, click images, it'll come up. Google's buried it, but you can still find it. And he's like praising somebody that killed. Well, Mao killed 4 times what Hitler did. But there's another 30 million or so the Chinese admit who they've killed. It's crazy. Like officially they go, Mao killed 84 million. The CIA says 65 million. And you're like, okay. Like the government of China says they killed 80 million people plus. Just kind of round down, take a few million off there. Because we're just talking about millions and millions of dead here. Oh, but if you can personalize it on the news and say Alex Jones says nobody died at Parkland, never even said that. I entertained people looking at anomalies and things with Sandy Hook, and then when I found out that some of the anomalies were just that, anomalies, but I believe that the shooting happened. But we have so much lying in history by government and others, it's totally normal to be able to question something, but it doesn't matter. All these years later, it's then misrepresented what I've said and what I've done in lawsuits and in the news. But before I was ever sued, I said, I can't say that it's fake. I think people have a right to question anything they want. They can say the moon's made of cheese if they want. But I know mass shootings happen, and they're a bad thing. They're very rare. And I just don't like them when people are involved in those type of things, they then become anti-gun and try to tell gun owners that we're to blame. But see, that hasn't really been a good sales job, telling gun owners you're to blame for what another Prozac head with an illegal gun does. So if you can just kind of make it like Alex Jones is saying bad things about the families and the victims of Newtown, which isn't true, and then never show the quotes or never show the statements, just say it, you get to recycle the tragedy, the anti-gun tragedy, over and over in the media, and get to say, why won't Alex quit saying it? Why won't Alex quit sending people to their houses, which there's no evidence of, never did, totally untrue. They're alleging in these lawsuits a conspiracy where I work with Wolfgang Halbig, a former school administration official and former state police officer, who 3 years ago got mad at me on air when I was saying in debates with folks about it that I think people did die. Wolfgang, God bless him, got mad at me. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's misguided, and said I was covering up. No, I can't sit there and look at those people and say, no, your kids didn't die. But they'll never show you that. I'm going to put on Infowars.com today our brief, our answer to this in one of the Texas suits. There's 2 Texas suits, the big Connecticut one. And, I mean, we paid top law firms a lot of money to go over everything we ever said, everything we ever did. And when I went back and looked at it all, my lawyers are like, this all is for you. And the whole affidavit they put out is like fantasy land. They've never seen anything like it. And you read the New York Times articles and all this stuff, and you notice there's no quotes around what I say. Or, again, it's like one word and another word. And for people that aren't good at English, and I'm not that good at it myself, when you see a bunch of words and one word has quotes, and then over here another word has quotes, and then there's 3 words that are together, but there's quotes between them. They took those words out and stick them together to put out the headline that isn't accurate. And so I blame the media. I blame the media for always stirring it up, always bringing it up, and lying and saying I'm the progenitor of Sandy Hook questioning. The media lying about WMDs in Iraq, lying about hundreds of babies having their brains bashed out on the cold hospital floors by Saddam Hussein's men, never happened. Fake PR reports, all of it. That's why people start questioning, and people have a right to. And I stand by that. But then the corporate media that murders the truth, that launches all these wars, that pushes race war, that tries to block the American recovery, that hopes for the economy to collapse, they cheerlead China, that's killed over 100 million of its own people, 80+ million under Mao, now running a giant Google system. When you actually read the documents, Google's been running an internal search engine for the Communist Party and training them on how to censor people in live time and go in and ban words and add things to the algorithm, teaching them how to control their people. Google isn't just running a censored thing for the Communist Chinese. They're teaching them how to control their people and working with them using super advanced U.S. technology. So is Google, are there going to be lawsuits and people in Congress crying, and we're going to have some Falun Gong survivors in, talk about how their mother had her organs taken and was murdered because she got caught doing Buddhist exercises in her backyard? And are we going to personalize Google and how shameful they are and how bad they are? Because they're actually helping kill people. They're actually helping suppress people in mass in a super evil regime that comes and kills people's little baby girls they catch hidden in the house. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't kill people at New Haven, Connecticut. The internet had big questions. The internet looked at anomalies, and then I found out some of those anomalies weren't anomalies. And I couldn't sit there for certain and say that, but I have a right to question. And then I experienced years of them misrepresenting, so I went, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, I think people died for sure, because you're putting words in my mouth and doing things I didn't, don't do that. And they go, Alex, we're never going to publish you saying that. We're going to lie about it till the end of the world, because we're the crooked media that works for the big corporations that are literally trying to not just keep China under communist nightmare control, but are trying to bring it here. And that's the big takeaway from Google, is that Google and Facebook and Twitter and Apple are all like lapdogs salivating to bend over backwards to the authoritarian regime in China. And their dictator came to Davos a year and a half ago. There was the headline everywhere. Chinese president, dictator, promises Davos that they will save globalism. And there he was with the heir to the biggest Nazi fortune, Juncker. And then Juncker said, we will crush Trump. We will crush the American economy. And they shook hands. At Davos, declaring war on America and our newly minted president. That's one of the headlines. You can pull up the actual quotes where it's Chinese president tells Davos he will save globalism. There it is. China's Z to promote globalization at Davos, not war and poverty. But if you go, that was before he went. You can find the quotes where they're declaring war on us and our prosperity and our freedom and have SJWs trained in Maoist philosophy, which Rockefeller thought was the best. He funded education. Ready to man all the computers, all the terminals, all the censorship, to be the blue city and blue state cops to suppress everybody. And they're rolling out a 21st century. This is World War IV, folks. This is it. America's under attack. The globalists are doing it. And all I'm trying to do is fight these people. And so many other men go, we better not do it. Look how he's getting attacked. God almighty, we're going to lose everything if people don't stand up and speak out. And now Fox News behind the scenes is threatening to fire Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity for not attacking me. Good news, Tommy Robinson has been ordered released from jail. We're not even sure if that's happened yet. I'm talking to his folks, getting information as it unfolds. Because as we said and others pointed out, under common law and under British law and under U.S. law, he didn't even have a real hearing. He was, in less than 1 hour after he was arrested, he was put into prison for saying he covered a trial of Islamic pedophile gangs, which he didn't even cover it. I mean, you're not supposed to go inside and say what you heard because there's minors or whatever involved to protect the children. We can't talk about the pedos, of course. But you do notice the top U.S. cardinal just went down for all the pedo stuff, and none of this. There he is. So now he has been released. So this is all breaking. We'll show you some of that video. It's posted up on Infowars.com. The poor guy gets out of jail and they're jumping on him just as soon as he walks out. It's just getting crazy. So that's all been posted to Infowars.com and Newswars.com. But I really started the hour off hammering that big U.S. corporations didn't just start doing this. The Rockefellers, the globalists said, China's the model. They didn't have running water 60 years ago. The globalists went in, built it all up, set it up with one-sided tariffs, shipped all our jobs over there, and it's a horrible authoritarian nightmare system. And now they are basing the tech companies over there to launch censorship and control against America. The globalists have demographically bet on Communist China and radical Islam just because of demographic numbers. And they're not trying to get another earpiece during the break. This has been doing this for 2 days. It just keeps popping out. I don't know what's going on. Excuse me. I just keep forgetting to ask for that, so I'm going to ask now. So demographically, they have decided to make this move. It's been done. We've been sold out. And then Trump's in there valiantly trying to fix it without getting too extreme, because that could tank the stock market if he said, ladies and gentlemen, our entire government database was given to China. All our secrets were wide open. They have way more industrial might than we do. We've been totally sold out. They've got their operatives in charge of almost every university. The Council on Foreign Relations directs it. America is basically in a horrible position. But if you go to Davos or you watch the Davos coverage, they admit all of that. The outgoing head of Goldman Sachs made big jokes earlier this year about, you'll never bring America back to Trump. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're going to build infrastructure. Aha, I just got back from China. America ain't coming back. You're like, whoa. But in the corridors of the Eastern elite and the coastal elite, not the people that live there, but the elites that stay there and control it and suck off everybody, they just have a predatory disdain because we were marked as the enemy. And one thing about war is you demonize your enemy. Because most people aren't psychopaths. They're just mercenary follower cowards. So they want to believe what they're destroying is bad. So the universities and Hollywood and the culture is America's bad, America's evil, America sucks, get rid of America, families are bad, men and women are bad. teach your 5-year-old how to be gay. And I'm not attacking people that aren't heterosexual, but in China, they execute you if you're gay. They say they don't allow Hollywood movies in. They're banned that promote men with men, women with women. They say it is a U.S. plot, look it up, to undermine them and bring China down. But then China funds Hollywood doing it here. And then every time I report that admitted fact, they'll have Pink News or whatever go, Jones, another homophobe rant, said that gays need to be killed. Didn't say that. China, you're God. Islam, you're God. What the left worships and apologizes for. Communist China and Islam murders you. And it's so sick, China owns Hollywood and finances it because they believe it'll destroy the country. Whether you think that's true or not, they're doing it. They're real. They killed 111 million people. 80-something million under Mao. Got it? They're really dangerous, man. They're monsters. Imagine if aliens attacked the Earth and killed 100 million people. There'd be statues everywhere against the war against them, and we'd hate the aliens, whatever they were, and, everyone would know about the aliens. But as Stalin said, you kill 10,000 people, it's a statistic. You kill one man or woman or child, they're a martyr. The actual quote is, one man's death is a tragedy, 10,000 deaths is a statistic, and it's totally true. How many football stadiums of 100,000 people are 111 million people estimated killed under communism in China? 111 million. Can we do that on a calculator? How many times does 100,000, how many times does 100,000 divide into 111 million? How many times? So you can't even imagine it. And it's just nothing. And the left are these monsters. They have killed 80% of the people killed by governments the last 200 years. They're the ones that are murderous from the French Revolution on. They're the ones, they're the plague. They're the system. They're the organized evil. And they strut around all sanctimonious and arrogant and tell everybody how bad they are because patriarchy and masculinity is in a front and families are in a front and nuclear families are in a front and prosperity's in a front. To these criminals that want to guilt all us into going along with all their garbage. Well, I'm not going along with it. I have the crew getting together every time I have said that I believe people died at Sandy Hook, and every time I've said I care for their families, and every time I've apologized if investigations and things that we had to do were hurtful to folks years ago, and none of the media will pick it up or carry it. They'll just lie about what I've said and misrepresent to you because the media thinks you're stupid. But coming up today in court with my lawyers, they're going to play the clips, and they're going to have it all. But don't worry, there'll be none of it on the news. Zero. The discipline of the mainstream media and their hate of the truth and their hatred of America and their hatred of Christians and their hatred of prosperity and their just criminal will is unbelievable. But we're breaking their will thanks to you and thanks to Trump. Now, that said, I'm going to play some of those clips I've actually said to the families over the years coming up, and we've got a bunch of special guests joining us. One of these guests is so controversial, and I've been trying to vet it. It's been all over the news, so I'm not saying it's all true or accurate. But the guy has a lot to lose if it isn't true, and I know what's going on in Hollywood, and he's that pretty big, he's been in a lot of big movies and stuff, actor who is going to be coming on in the third hour to talk about the pedophilia in Hollywood. My only issue is there's already so much of it documented. Why to go to somebody who's just, who's named a bunch of big names and what these people offered them to do, the things they said to them, the things they wanted them to do. What's crazy is from my own research, what he says is very accurate. From the ways they entice you. Like, if you want the really big role, you got to screw a 10-year-old. And you're like, are you joking? They're like, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. And you're like, well, I'm about to kick your ass. Oh, I'm just joking. Because I've been in Hollywood at A-list parties, which you think are so cool. Like, there was no oxygen. They were all unhappy and neurotic. Everybody's like mentally ill. You couldn't pay me to be around. That's why I got away from it all. I thought it was a way to reach out to people. It's not. And folks are like, well, you probably want to get out of here before the kids arrive. And I'm like, yeah, you're joking around. They're like, I don't know. I think it's time for us to go. And then, you know, you walk into back rooms at restaurants, and it's like, these girls are sure pretty, man, but I think they're about 16 years old, you know? And that's out in the open. And my soul's like, get out of here. So I don't know. I'm thinking about having him on. He's set up the third hour. I don't know. There's just so much going on. I mean, why? They keep telling me plug. Even though we're under unmitigated attack and they're trying to shut us down everywhere. Hey, we got great products, just like our information's world-changing. Our products, whether it's air filtration, water filtration, supplements, you name it, they're all available at InfoWarsStore.com. And I don't know how everybody isn't rushing into the products. A lot of people are, but this is an expensive war to prosecute. A very, very expensive war to run a media operation. They want to shut it down. They want to stop it because they know that we're standing up for what's right and telling the truth. And InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, 888-253-3139. It's all there, ladies and gentlemen, and the supplements and the 40% off on the Honor Roll and the fish oil and the krill oil, the newest products. Check it out today and sign up for auto ship, an additional 10% off. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it's just like people think great white sharks are going to kill them, even though less than 15 people a year die from them. Most folks won't swim in the ocean because they think a shark's going to eat them. It's the fears they inject in our minds. Myth over reality. The illusion over facts. Communist China's killed over 100 million of their own people, conservatively. And now our entire military-industrial complex, our entire media complex, Google, Facebook, Twitter, are all moving there and setting up censorship systems to help oppress the Chinese people. And they're launching all the same censorship here. And Congress finally, halfway, is getting awake. Finally, halfway is concerned. And the globalist answer is to have everything from Fox News to CNN lie about me, defame me, not show what I actually said, and say I need to be taken off the air to set that precedent. I want to open the phones up specifically for listeners, and I'll go to your calls. I'm bad about not going to them. On China. I mean, how this is hiding in plain view, how communist China has had Apple move there and put the keys to the Apple code and their iCloud, and that means your identity, to the Chinese government. The only thing more outrageous is they gave them 21 million names and backgrounds and social security numbers of our entire U.S. government, their families, their spouses, U.S. intelligence. I mean, we are devastated by the Chi-Coms. And they're so bold, folks. They take over the universities, the hiring processes. They're putting CFR/globalist Chinese agents who are black, white, old, young. Most of them aren't Chinese. Into the government agencies. I mean, we're far gone. We're far, far gone. And Trump's trying to just scrape some of it off and just almost negotiate, you know, where we won't be totally destroyed because Hillary and the globalists were going to totally implode us. And then they call him a Russian traitor. It's just so painful to watch. It's so epic. It's so historical. And then I'm reading the news, and they're just like, oh, big deal. Okay, they're helping run the censorship. And they're bringing it in here. And they're helping arrest and kill people. We need Bill Hemmer on Fox to, you know, talk about, isn't it terrible, the millions that have been killed by the Chinese, and now Google's helping him. But no, he'll just have someone on to lie about what I said about Sandy Hook and then never show any proof. And he'll look real good in the camera and feel good about himself and, you know, join in with CNN and everybody else lying about me in the New York Times and, you know, just join in on it. And then there's criticism of Tucker Carlson and others because they said, well, Alex isn't perfect, but a lot of that's out of context. And, you know, my God, look at the stuff, you know, that Bill Maher says. You know, he says abort all the babies, and he hopes America implodes, and he wants to have a depression. But that's okay. And they can all say, kill Trump, kill Trump, kill Trump. I say figuratively, politically, I want to have a political shootout with Robert Mueller. The last thing I want is Mueller to get hurt. Turn him into a into a victim, into a martyr. Everybody knows I'm against offensive violence. It's not who I am. But they're always saying I'm violent. So I said, why don't I said a little split-second thing. I do this a lot. So it was premeditated, but not really. It's kind of like a spontaneous, like love at first sight, hate at first sight. It was like, it was thought out, but like in 10 seconds. It was like, Mueller makes me so sick, the way he's railroading everybody, having fake trials and breaking the Constitution and spying on Manafort's phone calls in jail with his lawyers, totally illegal. And gosh, it's so crazy. And he was involved for 10 years with the Lolita Express with all these world leaders on it, having sex with, reportedly, his kids as young as 7. They whitewashed it to 14, 13-year-olds. They were being taken to sex islands. And sex sheiks, you know, with harems, just nightmare stuff in the Middle East. And it makes me mad. And I said, you know, oh, Mueller raped kids right in front of you. But I said, that's not what he does. He doesn't do it reportedly. He just watches it and uses it to blackmail people, which is confirmed. And the media goes, it's crazy. He claims that Mueller's in a pizza place raping people. Never said that. They just mix it all together. And that's crazy, huh? But you know what? That news got out by me getting up there saying, I don't want to do this for real, but I mean politically, you know, high noon, spaghetti western music, we're going to take these globalists out politically. They turn that into, you're being violent, you're threatening us, you're so mean, oh, when they're the ones constantly saying murder, 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 attack Trump supporters, kidnap Barron, rape him, rape him, rape him, rape him.
Time has come for voter ID like everything else. Voter ID. You know, if you go out and you want to buy groceries, you need a picture on a card. You need ID. You go out and you want to buy anything, you need ID and you need your picture. In this country, the only time you don't need it, in many cases, is when you want to vote for a president, when you want to vote for a senator, when you want to vote for a governor or a congressman. It's crazy. It's crazy.
We are back live into hour number 2 on the most demonized, most maligned, most lied about, most persecuted radio/TV transmission in the world. And why is that? Because we've got hope, and we've got stamina, and we've got will, and we've got spirit, and we've got a belief in America and Western civilization and the Constitution and Bill of Rights and private property and Jesus Christ of Nazareth and the Father and the Holy Ghost. We carry the light in the dark of the night. And sometimes I stumble over myself. Sometimes I fall into a pit. Sometimes I get things wrong, but my spirit's pointing in the right direction, and I love God. You know, I'm a news hound, so at night and in the morning and all day, I just look at news articles and video clips till the point my head spins. And I've watched California and Illinois and a bunch of other states pass laws so illegal aliens can vote. And then I've watched governors veto them or not implement them because it violates federal law. And then I look at Snopes and PolitiFact and these other groups that are the all high and mighty fact checkers, which means I guess they kind of sneeze in their handkerchief and see what that says and then go off that. Or see what, you know, in reality, what Soros and the CFR say, and they just regurgitate. It's why they all parrot. They put out a message and they parrot. And that's how the agenda just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes forever, doesn't it? But all these different cities are legalizing illegal aliens voting. And all these Democrat states are giving driver's license to illegal aliens, which they then are able to vote with. And by the way, here's Breitbart looking at a national poll. 54% of Democrats support giving illegal aliens the right to vote. 53% of self-described liberals say they support giving illegal aliens the right to vote, period. In federal elections, local, you name it. And at first they go, oh, it's just school elections or things like that. Because, oh, you're here illegally and you get access to all the welfare. So, but now you've got a right. You're not a second-class citizen. San Francisco gives illegals the right to vote. There it is, NBC News. Non-citizens legally registered to vote. They tell them, oh, go vote. It's okay. Go right ahead. You think you go to Mexico and vote if you're not a citizen? They laugh at you. Or Russia or Japan or South Africa, they would laugh at you. The Communist Party of the ANC now runs South Africa. They've run it in the ground, looted it, robbed it for the globalists, just like Venezuela did. They're announcing moves to not let whites vote, 9% of the population, and to take their land and then kill them. The same defense minister, he's the Minister of Defense, who's the deputy in the government, he said, we're not going to kill you till we take the land. And then they tried to flee to Australia, and they said, no, that's racist. You can't leave. Okay. Talk about Nazi Germany. Oh, but they're black. They can't do that. Well, I feel sorry for Africa because mythical kingdoms like Wakanda are just that mythical. Civilization's hard enough to hold together. And you did have colonialism and all the rest of it, but you have running water and things like that there. And you have, on average, very poor white farmers who came there because they were Christians and wanted to, just like the Pilgrims came to here. That mean they were perfect. They were trying to go have religious freedom. The Afrikaners and others are Dutch. They're basically like Amish-like. There were big movements during the Reformation 300, 400, 500 years ago to get away from all the sectarian wars in Europe and the rest of it. So people left to Africa. They left all over. And you can bitch about them all day, but then everybody wants to get into the countries that Protestant Christian worth ethics set up. Of don't steal from people, have just courts. Doesn't mean we're perfect, but everybody wants to get in the white Protestant countries. I mean, there are places in South America where they beg more Amish to come in. Amish have gone into several countries and turned deserts into green oases. So that's what's going on. And, you know, the Amish don't have autism. They're not eating glyphosate food. They don't use glyphosate. And they don't take vaccines. And they live longer, on average 10 years. Their birth defects are way lower, even though they have genetic inbreeding. And they do not have autism. Not endorsing all the stuff the Amish do. They have some secret programs people don't really know about that I know about. Because I talked to some of the people, they like to get highly decorated Army and Marine Corps officers who just so happen to be Dutch to go, and they pay them big money to stud out their daughters so they get new genetic bloodlines. And the whole family sits in there in the room with you. And they put a sheet between you like Orthodox Jews do. Interesting, but it's just like breeding cattle. And they pay them a lot of money. They do genetic testing, whole 9 yards, and then they stud them out. Little side factoids. Doesn't really matter. I think about knowledge, though. It's so addicting. Like, you want to learn more. Because there's just so much to know. Of course, that kind of sounds wild, but it's like going to a sperm bank. They just don't trust the sperm banks, which is probably pretty smart. Half the time, you're not even getting what they claim you're getting. You're getting some schizophrenic double murderer. You thought you were getting some, brain surgeon. Isn't that funny? A lot of folks study genetics, though. Mormons study it. Other people study it. They find it very, very interesting. We're told none of that even matters anymore, does it? No. But the globalists know. So we're going to go to break. We got a special guest who is a patriot. He runs a TV station. He's also a talk show host, really smart guy. We had him on a few weeks ago. I wanted to get him in studio. He's been massively censored. So we'll surprise you with that guest when he's here in studio in the next segment. And we're going to go to break. And I do want to take some calls while he's on with us into the next hour as well, specifically on Google moving to China, like Apple, and helping set up a censorship thing to help the communist regime, the dictatorship, stay in power. And they're also already bringing in the same things they're learning in China here. Total scandal, total evil. You won't hear a word about it. It'll all be on the news, how mean Alex Jones is, and how he hurt the Newtown families, and how he sends people to their houses, and how he won't say that it didn't happen. None of that's even true. And they'll just use that as their way to demonize independent media, which they're threatened by. And the American Psycho lookalike, Bill Hemmer, can sit up there and, he's the good guy now with his program that basically was like an MSNBC show with what they're doing. They really want the president to turn against InfoWars as if I'm petty, as if the president's even stupid to do that. and then hoping I'd get mad at Trump and take his base. I mean, there's such elaborate stuff they do. And I know folks that have been in the meetings with the Democrats up in D.C., because we have a lot of people that are actually on our team, you know, that give us the info, who actually have consciences, and they're just like, it's incredible. They are going to make, I told you this 6 months ago, but it's official now, InfoWars and yours truly, the 2018 and 2020 issue. And it's insane. Because they do know we're the key base that helped get Trump over the top, so they can cut him off from his base. They think it'll, you know, it's kind of like the denied David Duke thing. But, you know, David Duke really did say the things he said. With me, that's not the case. And I'm not going to wade into the middle of it. It's just amazing. And it's history. And it's what I asked for, so I'm here experiencing it. But so much more to get into. But there you go. The illegal aliens voting all over the country. But the liberals say it's a total conspiracy of Alex Jones, and I'm insane, and Political Facts says it's not happening.
Nobody said it was going to be easy for us, but we will never be stopped. I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created.
Record low unemployment and a record high stock market. The Trump economy is red hot.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
Now Kim Jong-un says President Trump will pay dearly for those words.
Getting a good picture, everybody, so we look nice and handsome and thin.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
North Korea now committing to complete denuclearization.
I mean, it's truly remarkable what he's doing. He has done more than any president in recent history, certainly in the last half century.
He's not a politician. He's one of us.
Never, ever, ever give up. Never stop fighting for what you believe in and for the people who care about you. Carry yourself with dignity and pride. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider. Embrace that label, because it's the outsiders who change the world and who make a real and lasting difference. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation.
3 American hostages are back home.
I am asking all citizens to embrace this renewal of the American spirit. Seize this moment, believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down. The forgotten man and the forgotten woman. You're not forgotten anymore.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Tom Pappert's in guest hosting with us throughout the rest of the broadcast here. He heads up one of the great TV affiliates that we're on. We'll tell you about some of that. But he also heads up one of the biggest Trump channels out there that they've now been deleting. Facebook kills pro-Trump account hours ahead of censorship hearing. That was out just a few weeks ago. So I wanted to get him in studio because we forget that just the day after Congressman Matt Gaetz said he didn't know anything about any type of banning at all, suddenly he got totally shadow banned with a bunch of other members of Congress completely banned. So this is very draconian. Now on the heels of The Intercept getting internal documents, Sky News also reporting that Google plans to launch censored search engine in China. Leaked documents real, but when you read the article, they're already doing it and they're bringing it here. So this is so criminal. This is so authoritarian, but you wouldn't know that on Fox or even CNN or MSNBC right now. It's all how Alex Jones is being sued by the Sandy Hook parents for saying their kids didn't die when I didn't say that. And they never show what I supposedly said because it's always about the children. We You know, we've got to take the guns away. It's for the children. We've got to shut the free speech down. It's for the children. And all these other headlines that Jones has gotten another strike on YouTube and Facebook for bullying a child. They reported I beat up a child. Didn't say where, didn't say when. It was actually ABC News video, some kid beating up an adult, and the guy shoves him to the ground. Everybody else showed it. They just take the video down and go, he bullied a child. But that didn't stop. Now the New York Times and others and the Daily Dot, why they say that I bullied a transgender child. Next it'll be I murdered a child. And there's no attribution. There's no link to where it was. And they call themselves the real news, and they call us the fake news. But as the president said, it's one giant hoax. So Tom Pappert is here with us. He heads up God Emperor Trump on the own website, and obviously still on Twitter, but restricted and blocked on Facebook. Good to have you here with us.
Glad to be here, Alex. You know, I only wish that I got to come here on a day when InfoWars wasn't so under siege, but I guess maybe there's no such thing anymore. But one thing that you said made me think, you know, one of Vox Day's rules is SJWs always project. And that's exactly what
they always lie.
They always lie, too. But they project. You know, they say you're a bully. They say that you're bullying children. And what they're doing is they're trying to bully you into silence. They're trying to bully this entire massive InfoWars operation into silence. So it's so hypocritical, but I guess so is everything they do. So maybe we shouldn't be surprised.
I love how no one knew that the censorship had gotten 50 times worse, and then suddenly now everybody does know. And again, that goes back to InfoWars and what you've done, everybody else pointing out and explaining how it's happening. And now Congress knows, and now they're getting scared.
Right. Well, you know, days before they had the most recent hearing where Gates, of course, threw you under the bus, so to speak, that is when they took my page down. Same exact day. And a week before that, of course, InfoWars released its bombshell report. And now we see it happening. Now we see them intensifying this. Now we see them, it's out in the open. People are starting to learn about it. Let's destroy them. Let's piece it apart and make it so nobody can hear what they have to say and they can't defend themselves.
And then Matt Gaetz the next day goes, I feel violated. No one can see my tweets. Yeah, dude. He goes, wait, that's discriminatory. The Democrats can tweet whoever they want. This is a form of political contribution to the Democratic Party by blocking me. Exactly. It's discriminatory, dude. They're operating as a utility, and they're discriminating. We're not even violating their rules. They're misrepresenting, and they're doing it to steal 2018. Wake up.
That's exactly right.
Thank God Trump came out and said it's illegal and that it's criminal. We need action against this. What do you think the president should do? I say we keep beating the drum. I think this First Amendment attack is the heart. It's a very popular issue. It's constitutional. It's the right issue. It's critical. And Trump needs to go big guns on this.
Well, and I know I've heard you say without this grassroots unit that we have here, all of us, InfoWars, everybody,
Matt Drudge, all of it together,
there would be no Trump. There would be no populist insurgency that we're seeing worldwide right now. So of course they want to shut it down. It only makes sense to try to shut it down. And if we don't defend ourselves, they will shut it down.
When I have a chance to get information from the president, that's all I cover now is, sir, you are shadow banned. Here's the website where you can see how you're shadow banned, because they have sites that track it.
Right.
And now Trump's actually gone and looked and knows it.
Really? When that's going to make the difference. I mean, for the president's voice to be silenced on Twitter, which we had the one rogue Twitter employee, what was it, a year and a half ago, delete his account. Like, these people do not like us. They want nothing to do with us. It shouldn't be
exactly in the same hearing, they said Jones was banned for saying nobody died at Parkland. The head of YouTube didn't go. Actually, she told Bloomberg it was an accident. A rogue employee did it. Alex Jones didn't say that. So see, but they've already set the precedent to say we can ban whatever we want, so then they misrepresent what you've said to ban it. But they shouldn't be able to ban it to begin with unless it's obscene.
Well, and, you know, they have all of the major social media companies. They have these nebulous community standards or guidelines or whatever they want to call it.
And it's secretly done. You know, secretly groups, they complain about you, so you can't face your accuser. This is 101 Soviet garbage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
well, go ahead.
You can't be in the public square without Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Well, Tom Pappert's an amazing talk show host in his own right. He's headed up a situation that's reached hundreds of millions of people, God Emperor. You can find him on Twitter, The Honest Media, Facebook, The Honest Media. And he's going to be right back. Talk about the TV station that he heads up, that he works at, that you can also hear us and see us on 5 days a week. We'll be right back. Tom Pappert's here. And again, he's reached hundreds of millions of people with the great satire, the articles, the memes, God Emperor Trump, and he got blocked and banned on Facebook the day of the hearings where they sat the Republicans and Democrats and all acted like they were little goody two-shoes for their constituents and said, how are you going to clean up the internet? And they said, well, we're going to ban all of you Republicans. Since you're so stupid that you don't even know we're already shadow banning you 90%, how about a 100% ban, Gates? And Gates did a 180. And I want to be, here's the deal. Behind the scenes, Gates has been on. We educated Gates. Roger Stone helped get him elected, knows him well, talks to him all the time. Gates was asked to be a champion. It was all explained about shadow banning. The president was brought in on this by a lot of people, us included. I'm not trying to toot our horn because the media goes crazy with it. But I'm actually freaked out, Tom, that it's us that wrote the report, us that got to the president, and then you saw him weeks later come out about it. I mean, that scares the living hell out of me that 9 times out of 10, it's InfoWars or Drudge Report is the only place this stuff breaks through. Like Drudge Report's the only place that linked to the 4 videos that YouTube banned showing Islamic invasion, kids being taken to strip shows, which I think is wrong. They said that was me abusing kids. I don't care if it's gay or heterosexual. Don't take kids to 2-year-olds, for stripping. Right. With men shaking their butts in little kids' faces. It's weird, man. I think it's abusive. But anyways, they banned that, saying, I abuse children. The other video was a guy pushing a kid down after he punches him 4 times in the head. That was all over every TV station in the country. But they wouldn't let you see it. So now I have people, media calling up saying, what child did you abuse? And I tell, the New York Times, you name it, they never want the actual quotes. They just act like they reached out. I go, it's ABC News. I didn't push the damn kid down. Excuse me, I'm ranting, and I have you here as a guest. It's just, and I know they're liars, but the level of lying is so incredible. Or maybe it's always been that bad. It's just I'm personally experiencing it, so I firsthand. But take this. They said Trump hates all Mexicans and says they're all rapists. Never said that. There is no clip. Just like they say, all this, Tom Brokaw says, I'm deeply racist. Doesn't play a clip. You're a news guy. You run a TV station. Tell folks about it. I mean, since when do they not show where you said it and just say it? It's another level.
It is. It's this new phenomenon. I mean, it never used to be like this. You used to, when you would say something about a person, have to provide some kind of evidence. And if you didn't, there would be lawsuits. But the problem is when you have 10,000 different little TV stations dotted across the country that all reprint the same canned story that's fake news about Alex Jones. How do you take down every single person like that? How do you sue every
That's
person?
The key. They're doing it in a mass swarm, premeditated.
Right.
Just like Trump.
Right. Right. And we know that they collude. I mean, the media in the White House press room, I mean, they all are in a Slack together. This is mainstream stuff. Gateway pundits, Lucian Wintrich, he experienced it.
I know folks at Fox. They say it's as bad as MSNBC. The only real people are like 3 or 4 people. Tucker Carlson, Hannity, Ingram to a certain extent, and they're all being bullied, and everyone wants them out, and now it's incredible.
And that just underscores the importance of InfoWars. You mentioned it's 9 times out of 10 you guys reaching the president, you guys reaching the masses, and our Facebook page, God Emperor Trump, has been taken down 6 times. 6 times. InfoWars.
And by the way, that's been retweeted by the president and by his son. You're reaching out. You're effective is why you're banned.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I was going to point out 6 times. All 6 of those times, Alex Jones, InfoWars, or somebody here wrote a tweet, wrote an article, sent an email, and the page ends up coming back. It's truly a testament to the power and reach of InfoWars.
And that's why I went to Drudge. Only Drudge gets our 6 when they're lying about us and trying to ban us. And Drudge goes, here's his videos, decide yourself. And people go, just like they said, I said nobody died at the thing in Florida, at Parkland. And then Drudge linked to it, had 14 million views. And then people really freaked out. They went, my God, you interviewed students saying the police stood down. And by the time they banned me a week later, it was in the news that we broke that. And it was shots over news cameras with people's cell phones. The news cameras weren't showing it. These were kids shooting it of other kids, and they were getting it to us, and they didn't want that out, that the sheriff stood down. So they said that I said nobody died to cover up that they stood down.
Right, which I thought that was some of the most powerful journalism I've really ever seen. Having the survivors who are awake and aren't just going to repeat whatever their teachers or their drama teacher, or whatever the case may be. They're going to actually use their own brains. And you're right, anytime you put something powerful like that out, whether it's a meme, whether it's an article, whether it's a video or an interview, they have to turn that off. They have to silence it, and they're usually going to punish you for it too, which maybe that's what's going on now.
Well, they thought when they started censoring and blocking everybody the last few years, because it went from maybe 10% censorship to 80%, 90% in their own admissions. I kept saying, Facebook dials all conservatives back 80. They testify, we dial everybody back 80. Well, now it's like 97 because we have the metrics. Paul Watson, when he bragged that we've won on YouTube, and I said, dude, why did you brag? Why did you show him the billions of views? And it's not his fault. Paul will tell you, they then all said, oh, my God, it's true, and shadow banned him 97%.
And that is just so par for the course with these people. And it feels good to brag. I mean, I don't fault him too much for that because he has achieved something fantastic. And if we were only on a level playing field, you know, I still remember we used to grow at an exceptional rate. And I released a viral video taken from a news source, heavily edited. I inserted graphics, music, fair use. But they took that down. Ever since then, this has happened to me. I reached maybe 10% of my audience, turned way down, and nobody can find my page anymore. People tell me that they get unliked.
And that's why people have to understand. This isn't Pavlovian where the dog doesn't do what you want, so you shock them. It does what you want, you give them a little kibble bit. That's dog training. And the globalists admit they're doing that to us. We're humans. We can go through pain for the greater good, okay? It isn't about money. It isn't about fame. It's about restoring the republic, just like Trump said. We are going to do the impossible. We've already done it. We are breaking their will right now, and I believe they've miscalculated. With the 97% ban of Congressman Gates and others, the average Republican is about 80% banned right now because we have access to Google Analytics. You can look at their pages, and they now have sites that track it for people. So people are learning about this. The growth curve, the learning curve is very quick. And so I think they've jumped the shark if we push this. That's why I'm hammering so much. Because we're really activist news, folks. We're covering what's happening, but saying you are the power, you are the resistance. Go through the censorship, set up new accounts, share it by hand, call into talk radio, call C-SPAN, call Congress, go down and shake that congressperson's hand and say, this is the big issue to you, shadow banning. And we're going to force this out because you've already seen them back off a lot of the shadow banning now, Tom Pappard, because they saw Congress starting to wake up. That's the answer. They're very weak in what they're doing if we take action. Stealth is their order of control. We must destroy the stealth.
Absolutely. Well, you say stealth, but at the same time, they tell you openly what they're going to do. They just try to hide it. So you're right, though. Confronting them, beating this war drum, that is the way to do it until we see change.
Well, I mean, take the head of Twitter said 6 months ago, we will crush conservatives. We will crush Trump. We will crush them. Right. This isn't them protecting people. They're crushing us. They're bullies. All of our codes, all of our intelligence operatives, all of our government employees, all of their families, all their Social Security numbers, everywhere they lived, the government files on them was given to the Chi-Coms 6 years ago by Obama. The Pentagon came within 1 inch of a coup d'etat. It was decided to do an information war. Donald Trump was asked to join this 5 years ago. He took a year to decide. His wife said, you've got to do it. So when they claim she isn't for it, it's total crap. Melania said, you've got to. And I was told all this before it even showed up in Politico, because they had an article that was actually pretty accurate in Politico. Like, Trump went to Scotland for almost a year. He retired, basically. And look, and he just loved the country so much and hates them preying on average people who've been forgotten or hated. He just had to do it. And it's so real. It's so historic. It's so obvious. They hate him so much, and they hate me. They hate you. They hate everyone. It's just Hollywood and the globalists. I mean, what a bunch of scum.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we were talking in the break, you know, I think the president probably had this moment where once you have this knowledge, once you know that's happened, once you know that our country is being sold out and average everyday people are being thrown under the bus and fed to the sharks, once you know this, it's kind of like your moral obligation to get out and fight and run your mouth and do whatever you can.
Exactly. And we're not just saying it. It's public. The Chinese dictator went to Davos after Trump got elected and said, we will stop him with U.S. leaders.
Absolutely.
I mean, damn it. I'm telling you, they talk about killing the president and arresting us. It's normal if you're leaders and they meet with a foreign dictator and say, we're going to stop the American president, those people end up getting arrested. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, it used to be that way. We used to have something like a sane society where your words, your actions had consequences. But it seems to be that if you are a globalist, not just on the left, but if you specifically spew their venom and toe their line, then you are invincible in 2018. Nobody can take you down.
Well, that's it. You can threaten the president, everything. Because, I mean, I've never threatened Mueller or anybody for real. because I'm nonviolent offensively because I don't want to make them martyrs. I mean, we're winning politically with ideas. They're the ones wanting violence, but they're calling for violence everywhere. So I make the point, politically, I want to have a showdown with High Noon. You know, we're going to beat him. That doesn't mean physical. To make the point that they would go crazy with that, it's like they think no one has a memory.
Right, and meanwhile, you have major actors saying, you know, well, when was the last time an actor assassinated a president? You know, they make these jokes.
Or blow up the White House.
Right.
Madonna, right. Or kidnap.
Barron with the cage.
Well, the New York Times says, here's where the Republicans play baseball.
Right.
They don't really have any security there.
And we all know where that led. It led to people getting shot, almost dying. If only that, you know, we are blessed by the fact that the left does not seem to value the Second Amendment or improving their marksmanship skills. But it's just they can say whatever they want. They can threaten whoever they want. They can lie about Alex Jones. They can lie about President Trump. No consequences. And Alex, you're obviously a very smart person because I've been watching you for years. You never slip up. You never do anything like that because you know they would come down on you and you never give them ammunition.
Well, I mean, their only hope is a false flag or getting a crazy to attack them to make them victims. In fact, they keep saying Trump's threatening the media. He wants people to kill the media. He's not saying that. They're calling him a traitor, an enemy, saying arrest him. He's trying to reboot the country. He says, no, you guys in fake news are the enemies of the country. They go, oh, my gosh, you want to kill us. That's all over the news.
Right, right. They say it's Orwellian. They say it's Orwellian for President Trump to say, don't trust the media. It's like, did you read the book, people? The book was about a media and a government, a deep state, and
lying to you.
Situation. Yeah, lying to you.
Yeah, Winston Smith works in the Ministry of Truth that kills the truth. In fact, I've got a clip here just of the compilations. There's several of these where they just repeat the same thing, that he's Orwellian, or the walls are closing in, he's going down. This is over the last year with them saying the walls are closing in, he's going down. And again, they'll put out a talking point. Soros runs this country outside of Trump. Trump's trying to get control legally. Because Soros' Media Matters puts out the script, 5 paragraphs, and then literally thousands of publications, thousands, repeat it word for word.
And part of that is because they're not good people, let's be clear, because they're lazy, and they're so lazy that rather than actually having an independent thought, rather than doing some research and putting together some evidence to create your point, they will copy and paste that article for Media Matters. They'll change a couple words here and there so it's an original piece of content, gets you higher in the Google rankings, and that's how it happens. They don't care about the truth. It's all about getting clicks.
Because Google will promote you to the top if you tell a lie about Trump or Alex Jones.
Absolutely.
I don't think I'm that important. I mean, we represent grassroots. We're involved. We're rebooting America. They kind of see us as the spirit of America. Kind of InfoWars is like the mascot of America to the globalists. So if they can lie about it, tarnish it, and destroy it, they think they're going to win. And I'm not saying that to be heady here. If they can take us down, they believe they're going to have a major victory. And that's going to be a major propaganda win for them and something for their morale. That's why the fact that you've stood up for us, financially funded us, spread the word by hand, what you've done as the listeners and viewers and stations and affiliates has stood in the gap against the lies. It's really true. You are the Second American Revolution. You are the new Paul Revere's, and I salute you from my very gut and center, because it's not that you're supporting me. You're supporting your children, my children, posterity. My spirit thanks you, because we are brothers and sisters together in this, and it really is unbelievably important. It is history. We're living it now. Tell folks about the station that you work at and manage, and the show there, Tom.
So I'm at Great Plains Television Network. That's in Wichita, Kansas, and we cover a big swath of South Central Kansas. You can watch us over the air. You can watch InfoWars on KGPT 26.10. We're one of the first guys to pick up your guys' signal full time. So
I should have said, like, about a year ago or so you did, or longer, and now we've got over 400 TV stations, a bunch of, so it's happening. And that's another reason they want to shut us down.
Right. Well, and this is one thing that, I mean, I know it's old school, it's old media. A lot of people are like, TV, who watches that?
Hey, if they shut the web off, you go back to that. It's more important than ever.
Precisely.
Just like in the 1970s, AM was going bankrupt. Limbaugh comes in the 80s. People recognize, hey, there's no conservative voice. They'll come if it's the message. And it became a $50 billion industry since then. Exactly. And by the way, people are going back to AM radio again.
Yep.
because they have to.
And you can't take it down. I mean, that's one thing. I used to say, this darn FCC and their regulations, if only we didn't have these regulations like the internet, the free and wonderful internet. And now I know, after a few years of being on the internet, the FCC in a way is a blessing, because if you follow their rules, you can say what you want.
It's just don't say cuss words.
Yeah, that's all.
It's like so easy, and I actually agree with that.
Yeah, and it's not like Facebook where you can't say the T word or the F word or the this word or the that word.
And there's always new words, and then I go, okay, well, the transsexuals were shaking their butts in front of 2-year-olds. I think that's sex. I think that's abusive. Oh my God, you just abused a baby transsexual. The baby transsexual deserves to put money in the G-string.
And these words.
See, and that's abusing children. Right. I'm like, my God, look at this local news. They have children with men on stripper poles giving them money. I think this is really crazy. I mean, would you have a field trip going to the strip bar? But see, because it was so powerful, they don't want it seen.
Right. And because you weren't celebrating it, you can celebrate this stuff and you're fine. Say, oh, yeah, that's wonderful. I love this.
Look at that 3-year-old stick that $10 bill in that big fat guy's G-string. God, that's hot.
And if you say that, that would never get taken down. In fact, you would be trending on Facebook for that statement. But because you're.
God, look at that. Oh, I love watching a dude in a wig with little kids. And, oh, man, this is awesome.
And so they would reward you for that. But if you have the audacity to tell the truth, to actually say, hey, now, wait a minute, not even saying anything bigoted, just saying, isn't this weird? 50 years ago, wouldn't we have been putting some people in jail for this? And now to question that, you get turned off.
But they go further. They go, Jones beat up a trans child. Right. We're not going to show you the link, but how does showing them doing that turn into I bullied a trans child?
Well, and meanwhile, we have, visual evidence of them committing unspeakable acts, simulating pedophilia and simulating child rape. It's
You're talking about the Showtime show where the guy rapes a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, James Gunn's a good guy. Your children belong to us, by the way.
Right.
And your mother is in hell. We're going to go to break. Come back with me. Co-host with me in the next hour. We have a very special guest. Speaking of these topics, got all these top cardinals having to step down. And I'm not Catholic, but I'm not attacking the Catholic Church. This is the universities, Protestant church, Catholics. They've been infiltrated by these pedophile rings. That's how they use it in intelligence operations to set people up. But it's definitely happening, and that's how they use it to get this new pope in, who's this globalist. So you've got the head U.S. cardinal, the head cardinal in Australia, resigning, stepping down, being indicted, being convicted of covering up sex crimes, abusing children. That's all coming up. Well, Isaac Cappy has been in a bunch of big films and had some big supporting roles. I mean, he's I'd say a B star out there in the whole panopticonic Aleister Crowley system of Devilwood. So he's going to be joining us. He says a lot of top stars tried to induct him into pedophilia. Now, we're not going to name names here. He's done that himself. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to kind of suss this guy out myself. I'm not going to attack him. I know how that goes on in Hollywood, but I'm going to suss him out myself. I just did a whole hour, didn't plug. Even though we're under mega attack, 40% off on the new fish oils. When you get them all together, 25% off individually. Secret 12, 40% off. Vitamin D3. These are the new specials. Fluoride-free toothpaste, fortified with colloidal silver iodine. It's all there. Bodies, ultimate turmeric formula. If you don't fund us, we won't be here. Plus, these are great products. Get them today. All right, riding shotgun with us, ladies and gentlemen, is a local TV station manager and patriot, and the guy that heads up one of the top 10 pro-Trump sites that's being censored by Facebook. Tom Pappert is here with us. We've got a guest joining us. He's going to ride shotgun with us on, who I didn't hesitate to get on because I'm worried about lawsuits, because I just say what I think's right. Sometimes I'm wrong. Most of the time I'm right. It's that we've got all these admissions of pedophilia and all these constant bust and constant confirmation with top cardinals and top Homeland Security officials and world leaders, and it gets swept under the rug, barely in the news. But then when I see something like this next guest that's joining us, Isaac Cappy, who's been in a bunch of big movies, saying all this about Hollywood, and then it starts getting a bunch of attention, I've just noticed this pattern where the media will always go with the rumor or the report, and I'm not saying he's wrong, I'm not saying he's bad, instead of the bona fides. The bones, habeas corpus, show me the body. I mean, we've got bombshell. D.C. top cardinal, Australia's head cardinal, admitting to running kidnapped kids, covering it up. This barely has been in the news. So why don't we spend an hour on this? And I'm not attacking Cappy. I'm going to ask him that question because I learned this with Pizzagate and stuff. You've got admissions and thousands of emails about the kids will be delivered into the hot tub for your pleasure, and then it's the FBI code words for sex with kids off their own Homeland Security manual, and they're talking about $65,000 of succulent hot dogs. Well, are these as good? Oh, God, these are good. I had these hot dogs in Hawaii. They were delivered by jet. And I mean, it's male prostitutes. And look, Obama's having sex with 10 dudes a day, whatever. The point is that that's what's going on your taxpayer time. He's not watching Sports Center 3 hours a day up there, okay? Okay? And the report is, he's got, well, I'm not going to get into it on a family show, but let's just say Amtrak isn't just a train. So all I'm getting at here is I noticed this penchant for going with the rumor or the secondhand or something without total proof instead of ignoring all the real stuff.
Right. And that's another thing. You're not hearing about this. A decade ago, it was all you could hear about was the corruption within the church, and not just the Catholic Church, Protestant, all of it. These pedophiles in the church, it was all you heard about. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe they're all just fixated on Trump right now. Maybe it's something like that. But you have heard nothing about it, which I think is frightening. What has happened in the past decade where we no longer care about the well-being of children? I don't get it.
Well, I mean, China. Google is testing for 2 years a secret total censorship thing to arrest everyone. And that's even in the functions, how to, leave the function on so they can search so you have evidence to put them in prison. I mean, it's like, you're like, well, that's a private company. They're allowed to help a Chinese dictatorship take Christians and cut their guts out. Damn it, it's a private company. Well, then, I mean, Hitler was a private company.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand when you work with the Chinese, you're surrendering everything you own, all your intellectual property, your blueprints, everything becomes Chinese property. And you don't think they're just going to use that again?
And Apple admitted that. They said, when you move to China, the government runs you. That's just how it is. Reuters. Everyone that has an Apple ID, the Chinese government administers it. That is insane.
Yeah. It seems like we should be able to sue. I don't know if I agreed to that when I bought my first iPhone years and years ago,
Exactly. They opted you in and sold you out. And then meanwhile, our president is a traitor for being concerned.
Right.
By that guy, he said Mexicans are all rapists. Really, where's the clip? We're not going to show you the clip.
Right.
We're not going to show you the clip. Just shut up. We'll be right back with a special guest. Stay with us. Infowars.com, newswars.com. We'll be back. We're going to delve into the darker corners of Hollywood. And you're like, darker corners? Hell, the whole thing's like a black hole of evil. Alex Jones here, broadcasting worldwide. So we've got the head U.S. Cardinal resigning, admitting, criminally convicted of covering up massive child kidnapping and rape gangs. Back of the paper, barely got any news. The church can't let McCarrick's enablers off the hook. The Catholic Church has obliterated its ability to inspire trust. You got the head cardinal of Australia, the head cardinal, in a secret trial of over 100 kidnapped boys. He's the right-hand man of the Pope, who, it's in the London Guardian, used pedophilia to blackmail him into control when he's a Marxist-Leninist. So I just wanted to up front point out, this is real. There's an 8 or 9-fold increase in the arrest of actual pedophiles. Kids. Remember, even KTLA had the headline a year and a half ago when I was on Joe Rogan's podcast that very day. 400-plus pedophiles arrested with cages, and there were hundreds of women in cages and little kids, and then they catch the Clintons and their people shipping kids out of Haiti. None of that gets covered. They always go, there's no such thing as pedophilia, except when James Gunn's promoting how great it is. And then all these comedians come out. So we know that intelligence agencies and other groups use this because it's not enough to blackmail somebody you're cheating on their wife or that you're gay. That doesn't work anymore. So they have to, induct you. And the Mexican mafia or in the Aryan nations or whatever group you're in, reportedly you got to go kill somebody to become a made member. Italian mafia the same way. You got to make your bones. But to get into Hollywood, you got to make your bones with a 13-year-old girl. That's the bare minimum. That's Roman Polanski who gets standing ovations. Because, it's come out in the news. It's come out in investigations. I've talked to people. This is what it is. And they say at the final level, I've been told this by major people. And this happened to Mark Dice. They said, we want you to pledge to Lucifer before we give you this national show. And I know the very production company he's involved in. I've been involved with it. And in the meeting with the head of it, he said, I just want you to pledge yourself to Lucifer. And he said, are you messing with me because I'm a Christian? He goes, no, this is serious. I can't work with you unless you do that, okay? We work for Lucifer. So this is going on, and this is happening. These are rites of passage. That's what's going on. And Tom Pappert's here, heads up one of our big TV cable stations that covers a good third of Kansas. I don't, sit there and think that everybody in Hollywood's a pedophile. But I know for a fact that it's the evil glue that holds that whole thing together, and the abuse of also men. Women get abused too, and I'm all against it. But reportedly, people I know in Hollywood, they say, man, it's men who aren't gay with other men demanding they have sex with them and be humiliated. And it's come out like, where Hollywood producers order black guys to smoke crack till they have a heart attack if they want the job. I mean, a lot of it's just power. It's like, let me call you the N-word over and over again, and I'll give you the starring role. It's like, it's all about humiliation. And it's like, so those of us that aren't into that don't get it. But 50 Shades of Grey, all this is a gateway to get our young girls. And I know some distant family who saw 50 Shades of Grey when she was 16, got roped in by a really rich company. They tortured her, and when it came down to the brass tacks, the police are like, but there's all these videos of you in bondage liking it. But see, there's finally that day when the boom closes, when the wall goes down. And so I've been in Hollywood and been in some big movies with some patriots that live here in Austin. Linkletter's a good guy. He never was involved in anything weird. Then I got into Hollywood, some big movies. I'm doing a preface. We're going to our guest who's waiting right now. We're going to go to him here in just a second. I want to preface all this. We're going to be talking to Isaac Cappy here, who's getting attacked right now. And I'd be sitting there and like, oh, you don't want to be at this party because, you don't want to screw kids. I'm like, you're joking, right? They're like, no, I think you need to go. And same deal, like you're walking to a private area of a restaurant, and like, you're watching these old dudes rubbing all over, girls. Like, that's a major director. And I go, that girl's got to be 14. And it's like, hey, don't worry about it. What, you think she's good looking? And some others. And I was never, believe me, I'd call the police if I could prove something. But let me tell you, I've been at some Hollywood parties. That's why I said I can't be here anymore. We're like, there's 100 people, everybody's going on. And you see these girls walk in, and these are like 15-year-old cheerleaders. Have you ever seen one? These aren't women acting like they're underage. It's like but my gut could feel it, like my soul was being sucked. It's the thing you were talking about. Like if I thought I was empty when I was visiting Hollywood, I always wondered, is it the air or the water? Why do I feel so soulless? When I'd be at a party and they'd march in, 3 or 4 girls looked like they were, but the oldest was 16. I was like, man, I got to go. It was beyond anything I ever felt. Like the evil in L.A. is like, it's hell. It's like a gateway into hell. So we're going to go to break and back with our guest who's here with us, who's saying, he's seen a lot of this, these rites of passage. I'm not going to name names, but who is Isaac Cappy, actor who threatened Paris Hilton and Seth Green? So he starts coming out and saying these folks are involved in whatever. I'm not going to get into that. Suddenly he's threatening them. And he's been in a bunch of big movies, Fanboys, and Thor, and Terminator Salvation, a bunch of them. He's done a lot of big supporting roles. I mean, he's I wouldn't say an A-list actor, but, he's definitely been successful. I recognize him. So I start getting paranoid, though, because I've seen Pizzagate, where we have them in the emails. The kids will be delivered to the hot tub. You're going to, for your pleasure. You know how kids act, but they should, give you pleasure. And then you've got Podesta's brother in the news saying, I like pedophile art. I love it. I'm a revolutionary in 2007. And it's pictures of 2-year-olds being paddled. Okay. I mean, this is some sick stuff. I mean, in the Washington Post, because the ultimate thing for them is to say it openly. But then we covered it and saw the weird stuff. They kind of, like Karl Rove, planted fake stuff on Dan Rather to set him up. 90% of the report was true about Bush, but the last bit was fake, planted by Karl Rove, reportedly. And so I've learned how this works. So I don't know if Cappy's a good guy, bad guy. I'm not going to judge him. I don't know. And we're going to go to him after this break. All I'm saying is I've got oceans of admitted mass pedophilia getting no coverage. And I've been in Hollywood, and it creeped the living hell out of me. I mean, I was like, I can't go to Hollywood. Like, you'll be in the dressing room or taking a piss, and somebody walks over and, says, hey, you want to, and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm joking. It's a total cult. And then he says the same stuff I've experienced. They didn't say, hey, you want to, have sex with 5-year-old boys. But still, it's the exact gateway of how this works. So we're going to go to break, but I wanted to have you here, Tom Pappert, who heads up God Emperor Trump, one of the most successful outlets out there. I mean, I'm just trying to, I think this guy is a known actor. I think he has a right to say what he's going to say. But then you understand my trepidation.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen where, they got people stuck on a physical location that had nothing to do with it, and it turned into a giant fake news catastrophe that discredited a lot of people that there's certain journalists who do fantastic work. They will say, Pizzagate, pusher, comma, the person's name. It's disgusting. So you do have to be careful, but at the same time, it's almost like if you don't let him get his word out and say what's going on, are you doing a disservice to humanity?
You're almost complicit if he's right.
Exactly. Are you guilty because you?
And he's pointing at a beehive, going, "There's bees in there," and you see bees coming out the bottom. You're like, "Well, yeah, we know there's bees in there." Well, he's been in the beehive. He's going to tell us about it.
Right. And I think that's the best thing we can do is to let them give a platform, not endorse it and not say this is truth and this is gospel, but to let it get out.
Well, I mean, here's the deal. I probably was only in and around Hollywood 4 or 5 years. And they come out for a TV show, come out for this, come out and, we'll pay you to come, do a voiceover for a video game. It's $50,000. I mean, I got paid $980,000. And folks think, oh, then you don't need any money. No, I put it into all this. I don't own jets or big houses. I'm trying to downsize right now. But I mean, I got paid $900,000+ for a national advertisement for insurance and stuff. And I put it back in the business. But imagine, I can't, even though that was for insurance companies, I can't go even to LA to audition and even get paid $10,000 to audition because I can't be there. Like I can barely go in to be on Joe Rogan's podcast. I have to man up, and I can take anything. I can't go to LA. Like I'm flying in and I feel like I'm dying. I mean, it's so satanic. My God. And that's the main enemy attack base, though. That's what's sucking the soul. And so, I mean, there's no doubt, folks, a crack in hell, the fissures, the interdimensional gate there, I don't know, but LA is hell. LA is hell. LA is hell. And it's the globalist attack base to take over the planet. We'll be back with our special guest. So, the globalists are trying to brainwash humanity, turn off our life force, turn off our survival instinct. Hollywood is their main weapon. And we're joined by Isaac Kappy, who's a pretty big movie star. He's been in a lot of big films, big supporting roles, a lot of starring roles. I'm not going to go over all the films he's been in. But he's coming out in this whole plethora of sex stuff happening and pedophile news and James Gunn, worshiping pedophilia. He's a pedophile booster. And 400,000 signatures or whatever, saying rehire him. And he's saying they've tried to induct me into this. So we appreciate him joining us. Isaac Kappy is coming on. Obviously, he's a firebrand right now. I'm a firebrand. I don't really want to get into names here. He can do whatever he wants. We're live on air. All I'm saying is that this is the glue, the satanic glue, in my experience, that holds together the evil. So, Isaac Kappy, thanks for coming on with us. Just up front, why are you going public? And for people to actually hear unfiltered what you're saying, because mainstream media is all about not letting people hear what you actually say. Where's the best place for people to actually hear what you're saying unfiltered? Because we're going to obviously filter it here today, because we're on hundreds of TV and radio stations. We don't want to put them in harm's way.
So I've been doing a lot of Periscope streams. I'm sure someone could send the link. And also my Twitter. I've been very active on the Twitter. And I would like to dispel a few things you said. I'm not a big movie star. I've been in a lot of movies, but I'm not a big movie star. Also, I really would like to get in front of this. I never threatened Paris. And in fact, I reached out to her yesterday. We texted back and forth. And I said, look, I know you're a good person. I don't want to bring you into this. They are trying to draw you in because that's what sociopaths do. They use other people around them. They don't care who they hurt. They just bring them in. And I will say there is a lot more to that story. It's not relevant, though. And it's not relevant to the conversation.
Sure. I mean, that's a classic tactic. It's a distractionary tactic to change the subject. But I mean, I don't really follow Hollywood, and I know who you were. So I'm just saying you're an established actor.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, I have a singular mission. When the James Gunn stuff came up, I've been watching these people talk. They're liars, and the root of it is that they're pedophiles. James Gunn is a pedophile. And I know because his friends are pedophiles. Seth Green is a pedophile. He told me he was a pedophile, okay? And I'm tired of the cult state ripping apart our country and brainwashing people. It's driving me nuts. People are literally getting attacked in the streets for their political views, and that is not what democracy is about. And I'm just tired of the bullying and the gaslighting by the media, because they are known for covering up these crimes. They covered up for Jimmy Savile in England. That guy Mark Thompson is now the CEO of the New York Times Corporation. And I'm sick and tired of it. And that's why I called them out. I was like, look, this is the root of all of it. Let's just address the facts, you know?
Well, we've got like half the Cardinals being busted right now. It's everywhere. Without getting
it's worldwide.
Without getting in the name specifically, you saw this gun thing. It triggered you to go public. Tell us what some of these people, the name you mentioned, that is a big, quote, Aleister Crowley star, all these occultic terms, you know, God, what they mean, a star is a god, the whole Roman calendar. So it shows their whole occultic system. But describe the way you call it, this big anti-human occultic system, and just without getting into names, what people said to you trying to induct you into this according to what you said.
Sure. It was kind of a roundabout thing. I got a link to an article. I clicked on the article, and there was actually the first comment was from the Illuminati Facebook, which I thought was kind of hokey at first. And then I looked at the comment, and then I went to their page and looked at other comments. I was like, these seemed very, very tailored specifically towards me. And the one that stuck out the most was something to the like of, join us, we'll give you $250,000 a year and any car you want. Live anywhere in the world. And then the next day at a party, this other guy's like, so he starts talking about cars. He's like, so what kind of car do you drive? I love the Teslas. The Teslas are great. What do you drive? I said, I drive a Ferrari, just being cheeky. And he was like, no, you drive a Hyundai Elantra, which is my actual car. So I was like, okay, this guy knows what car I drive. There was the reference earlier, like there's no way this is a coincidence. And then he also said, you know, I like to spend entire weekends without my phone. You know, like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I was like, oh, he wants to go have a convo without our phones because he's aware that the NSA is recording everything. So, you know, these are people that know how to cover their tracks quite well. They know what they're doing.
Well, most things are run by the whole foundation, leftist arm of the CIA. And, of course, about 2 years ago, Chris Carter said what side he was on. He said, Alex Jones isn't a racist. He's a patriot. Trump's a patriot. But then everybody else lined up against me. So I know all this goes on. And I saw your text, your comments. So you're saying they had heads-up data of your own personal stuff, clearly from the NSA. They were using that to manipulate you. And imagine a girl. You have that type of personal stuff on a girl.
Alex, they didn't have my data from NSA. You know, they figured it out some other way. You know, when you're rich and powerful, you can hire operatives to follow people around, which I also experienced.
But what I'm telling you is Hollywood and all that is plugged into that. I'm an expert on that.
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%.
All right, we'll continue, though. So when did it get to the point, like Mark Dice, they didn't ask him to have sex with kids, but they said, we want you to join Lucifer, you know, before we give you this TV show.
Well, I was at a party, and then this child showed up with a man and a woman, and he was asking for Seth Green, who was out of the country at the time. And that's when I was like, oh man, they want some blackmail on me. They want to pin me down and get me involved in this. And I have no desire to get into anything like that. So.
Well, yeah, I never saw anything illegal, but I was at some big parties, and I'm like, why are 15-year-old girls at this party with weirdo, creepy lawyers and like, you know, oh, I get a martini, I'm 15 years old. And I'm like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I understand that. I have also been at gatherings where there have been 15-year-olds, and it's been fine, and no one's drinking, and it's just we're, you know, just hanging out and playing board games.
Sure, I'm not saying you're not at the beach with your family and the 15-year-old sneaks a beer. That doesn't always mean there's pedophilia. I'm just saying you're at a Hollywood party, and you know you got scantily clad girls that don't look like they're 18. You know, it's weird.
Yeah, it is. It is weird.
So, I mean, how often did you see stuff like that?
Like children showing up to parties?
Yeah.
Well, look, I have had friends who have been young actresses, young actors. We actually had a game night that we did every Friday. It was the most benign thing, you know. No one even drank, and it was like a really good community, and everyone felt good about it.
No, that's all great and fun. We're going to go to break and I'll come back. What is the heart of the matter? Because you've named some names, but when I come back,
sure.
I just want to, without getting into names, what they said to you, why you think this is going on. And we know it's going on. I just know about the names of the people you're saying. Like, why would they take you? You call yourself an obscure actor. I mean, you're a successful actor. Why were they trying to recruit you?
Well, this is why. So Claire and I, we were friends. And when the Pizzagate thing was breaking, I was reading all the Podesta emails, and I was like, oh, my God, this is crazy. And I brought it up with Claire, and I was sharing with her, and she was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I was at Seth's, like, you know, we were talking for a while.
Stay there then. We're going to come back and understand this right now. Okay, Isaac Kappy is a actor in Hollywood, been in some big films. We have riding shotgun with us, one of our TV station managers, and, of course, the manager of Trump, God Emperor, reaches hundreds of millions of people, Tom Pappert. And listen, this whole Kappy thing, I started getting text messages and emails last weekend. Last Friday, actually, flooding me. Got to have him on. Here he is. You know, the evidence of the whole thing. And I'm like, the evidence is that all these Vatican people and the Pope and all these comedians, everybody, and NAMBLA, and the Democrats wanting to sexualize kids, and Calvin Klein, and just all of it. I mean, my God, you got Viacom documents, how they want to sexualize kids. So then I'm sitting here, and Kappy, you may be the best guy in the world. You may be the worst guy. I don't know. I don't know these Hollywood people you're talking about. I could burrow into them. I know you can't swing a stick in Hollywood and not hit some type of predator, who's into soul-sucking. I think Hollywood's really about vampirism and soul-sucking, dream-catching, dream-killing. But bottom line, without getting into all the names, what's the data dump? If you had 5 minutes on national TV, which this is, millions are tuned in right now, millions will watch later. What is the data dump of your experience, what you saw, what they said? Because you were going to break, people that just joined us. So go back to that. You were talking about Pizzagate to this girl, this other Hollywood actress. And then all of a sudden she goes, oh, and then what happens next?
All right, here's the data dump, okay? Let's just be really concise about it. Seth Green, at his house, after a party, we were all kind of drinking, pulled back a secret bookshelf and said to me, this is where we keep the children, all right? The top floor in that Malibu house was covered in stuffed animals. There was a room with a bunch of bunk beds, okay? At dinner, mind you, after that experience, I tried to block it out and just laugh it off because it's hard, because you trust these people. I loved them. I loved them so much. I love them. And then, a month later, Seth tells me at the dinner table, we need to have a talk about chicken. And in case you're not aware, chicken is a pedophile code word for very young child. He told me he's into kids. So, I don't know what more data people want. We have, tons of cult state imagery that was on their Instagram, which have since gone private. He told me he was a pedophile. There's a secret room. There's stuffed animals everywhere.
But wait, he told you he was into chicken. And I'm not going to show the images, but I was sent this by people that have been connected to the stuff in D.C. and we've given it to law enforcement. But the whole point is that their biggest thing is throwing it in people's face, making it public. They believe that gives them this lesser magic power. They believe they're stealing energy from the children. It's not just about the sex. I don't know about Seth Green and all these other little globalist people. I know they're anti-Trump and a lot of other things, but I don't know about what you're saying. But how is him saying chicken? How is that kids? Because I understand maybe they thought you were into Pizzagate. They thought you were funny. They knew you. They were teasing you. Or maybe it was Sacha Baron Cohen. Hold on. Sacha Baron Cohen might have been videoed as a joke. I mean, how do you know? What I'm saying is, when did he actually say something?
He said it at that conversation. We're already eating dinner, okay? So ask yourself, why would someone say we need to have a conversation about chicken? How does that make any sense?
Yeah, I hear you, but that isn't proof of him introducing
Alex,
pedophilia.
Please stop fucking interrupting me, brother.
Hit pause. Or delete that. Go ahead. We're on radio and TV. We can't say cuss words. I'm not going to interrupt you. Fine. I don't know how someone saying chicken is that. Go ahead.
Okay. So while we are already eating dinner, he says, we need to have a conversation about chicken. And I say, well, to be quite honest, when that hit me, I was like, this wave of dread. Because I had, I was like, they might be into this stuff. They might be into this stuff. He confirmed that they are into children. I asked him if they were into sacrifices and stuff like that. He said they weren't, but, he was already, lying about other stuff, so who knows?
So this isn't a robot chicken trolling operation for Sacha Baron Cohen right now?
This is not a trolling operation. There are so many rumors about what's going on. I've been accused of working with Spielberg, with Hanks, with Seth, and a lot of the rumors are just like benign and just part of like the whole telephone game experience. Like someone said, I wrote Thor. I did not write Thor. I was in Thor for a day and it was fun. And
no, I know. National News said I beat up a transsexual child. Thousands of art won't say where or when. I believe me, I've been experiencing it.
I'm well aware. I know the struggle, my friends. I know the struggle.
Tom, you got any points here? Because I'm not judging Isaac Cappy. He's just, I have to try to research this.
Right. I guess here's my big question. Obviously, if you don't go along with these people, what you're saying is you kind of get blacklisted. So my question is, were you still getting jobs by not being friends with the names you've mentioned? Or, is this essentially a
this just happened. Because the James Gunn thing happened 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Exactly. Have you been blacklisted? What pressure have you gotten?
To be honest, my work fell off ever since Pizzagate, and when I was looking into this stuff, I don't think I worked at all last year. I haven't worked this year. So, look, I don't even care about acting in movies anymore. Every script I got, I had a couple of auditions here and there for little stuff, and I'm like, I'm just not into this stuff at all.
Well, sure. So what about the soul sucking? Do you feel the soul sucking when you're there?
Yeah, but the overarching point that I'm trying to make, there's 2 points. The first point is I believe that we should live in a world where children are not raped and or murdered in mass and where it's covered up by the powers that be, by the cult state. That is the problem. These people are
By the way, that's definitely going on. I don't know the people you say are involved, but I know for a fact that is coming out, and Trump's exposing that.
Well, he is exposing that, and that's why I came forward, because I have firsthand knowledge of these people. I know what they're into. Mind you, there have been no lawsuits, no defamation suits towards me. These are explosive allegations I'm making, okay? I don't take them lightly at all. And to be honest, I mulled it over because there's the whole thing of don't judge others, at least you judge yourself, or, don't throw stones. But, when we're talking about kids who can't even advocate for themselves, someone has to step up to the plate. And it's been very rewarding. So many whistleblowers are coming to me with amazing information. It's explosive stuff. They know what's going on. I've had people that have actually seen the blackmail material for a lot of really big people that their names worldwide.
Well, let's take Mueller. It's mainstream federal documents that he, for a decade, let Epstein kidnap kids, all of it, and run them around on airplanes everywhere and have sex with them with other world leaders to blackmail them. And I guess in Mueller's world, because reportedly he never had sex with the kids, we're doing it to get control. You don't let people abuse kids. So I know that stuff goes on. I know that's coming out, and it's just mind-blowing that we've gotten to this point. But you're saying you saw the James Gunn thing, and that was just too much for you.
Yeah, and, they hide behind – this is one thing I would like to address. They hide behind it's just jokes. It's just jokes, okay? Well, it's not jokes. It's a release valve for them because they can't just talk about this stuff, openly. They're trying to normalize it, obviously.
Sure, they're openly getting us conditioned, is what you're saying. That's what NAMBLA's, they're just normalizing it.
Yeah, and addressing the Epstein thing, that was a giant honeypot operation, and that's one of the things I've been stressing to the people that have been watching me. And by the way, a lot of people that have been watching me on my Periscope streams, they're new to this. They kind of had maybe an idea that something was wrong, but I want to let them know, look, the way the world has worked is through blackmail, okay? It's the cult state. They get the blackmail. They own you. It's worldwide. They want to own their assets.
Well, that's certainly true. Isaac Cappy's our guest, riding shotgun. Tom Pappard, one of our local TV station managers, and the guy that heads up God Emperor Trump. Yeah, we're not out in L.A. We're down here in Texas. We don't want to be in L.A. My soul feels strong right here in Texas. And that's what they don't like is we have the soul still. They make jokes about it. When you talk about it, you see them start getting a little bit twitchy. But doesn't matter. America and the world's coming back. Isaac Kappy, in the middle of James Gunn coming out with hundreds of tweets salivating over pedophilia. We're not going to say he's a pedophile. He's a guy that is obsessed with it and loves it. The death of innocence, true vampirism. So Isaac, what is your goal? What is your end game? What do you want by coming out and saying these things you're saying?
Look, I want people to wake up, all right? People have been manipulated. The media, the mainstream media, as you are well aware, has been controlled. Twitter, Facebook, Google. I would like to share some of these stories. Twitter, if you search my name, you can't even find me on Twitter. They're suppressing me. They're deleting people's accounts while I'm talking to them in DMs, okay? There was supposedly a hit piece today on the Today Show that brought my name up, and I haven't watched it. At this point, there's so many haters and disinformation I can't keep up. But if what I'm saying was false, and I've gotten death threats too. So if what I'm saying is false, why would there be such a concerted effort to shut me down on every platform that the cult state controls?
Which just means the head state. Let me ask you this question, Kappy. You're really good buddies. We looked it up. We didn't just believe you. With Seth Green going back for years. So suddenly you're turning against him. His show's called Robot Chicken. You make this chicken joke. Is this not the ultimate outdoing Sacha Baron Cohen stunt right now?
I would like to dispel this one more time. This is not a media stunt, okay? This is 100% the truth. I put my life on the line for this. I believe it. I believe that we should live in a world where children are not abused by...
No, I totally agree with you. So let me ask you this question. I don't think Seth Green saying, let's talk about chicken, when he directed a hit show called Robot Chicken, and he has some stuffed animals. I mean, I got stuffed animals. I got kids. I don't think that's proof of that. Okay, I'm not saying you're schizophrenic. I'm just saying it goes in that direction. So you said he talked about having this. I want you to go out on the plank. You've been a friend with him for a long time. That's confirmed. If that's the case, then, I mean, tell us. You said he said pedophilic things. Well, I'm not going to let you just sit there and say it without specifically saying it. Because saying he wants to talk about chicken, give me a break.
Alex, I kind of got to call you out, man, because you're just employing the same sort of gaslighting tactics I've heard from everybody else. Look,
gaslighting. I want someone saying
Alex,
that they want to talk about chicken when they have a show called Chicken is not pedophilia.
Alex, this is a point that I keep bringing up, okay? If what I'm saying is a lie, why has there's been no...
Because they baked the hook, like CNN and the New York Times made it all about a pizza place in D.C. instead of the actual emails of kids being delivered to Aleister Crowley rituals. So I'm telling you, I've learned how this works. You blow up a gas well. If an oil well's on fire, Red Adair would roll a bomb in to blow it up. So you use a bomb of fakeness to blow up the real fire. Right. And I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm saying I have oceans of real pedophilia. Okay, confirmed.
This is real pedophilia, buddy.
Someone saying chicken at dinner.
You didn't even listen to the
James Gunn says he likes to have sex with little girls. He's drooling. We have proof he should be criminally investigated, like Senator Cruz says. So I'm all about what people actually did. They lie about me all over the news. Show me, what did he say to you other than let's talk about chicken?
He said, let's talk about chicken. He then confirmed that he's into children, which I said earlier. I asked him.
Okay, what did he say? Tell me. Good. Tell me. Not good that he did it. I want what he said. Give me the bona fides. What did he say?
All right, let's just calm ourselves, okay? Once he said, let's talk about chicken, the wave came over me. I don't remember the exact words. He confirmed that he's into children. I asked him if he was into rituals and sacrifices, which he said he wasn't, but I can neither confirm nor deny that, okay? Sorry, we got a text coming up here. His wife, Claire, has been involved in human trafficking since years and years and years. Her transgendered brother was actually a teen prostitute, and Claire told me that once she picked up money at a hotel and Bill Clinton was there. Okay, like, as for me having like photographs, I don't have that stuff. Okay, but I needed to come out because this is the best you're gonna get for a whistleblower from Hollywood. Okay, nobody wants to do it. Everyone's scared. They want to protect their money. They want to protect everything. They're not going to do it. I'm willing to do it, and I've been just attacked everywhere, which is fine. I knew what I was getting. I knew what I was getting myself into. But the fact is, there is a secret room behind a bookshelf at the Malibu house. The fact is, there are tons of stuffed animals at that house. The fact is, they have tons of pedophile code symbols. Claire had a black jacket with a heart inside of a heart. And I was like, wow, how can you just be so brazen about this? All right? There's a preponderance of substantial evidence. That's why I came out and just called everybody out. James Gunn is friends with Seth Green. They're part of the same crew. There's wedding pictures.
Well, I know this. They're people like Gunn are all over the news and his tweets saying this. And I know that when I've been in L.A., I thought, is that a joke? Why are you making these jokes of these creepy people like, hey, you know, what's going to happen if they find out we're effing kids? And I'm like, we're sitting here drinking martinis on the top of a building. Why are you asking me about effing kids? So I know that goes on. I thought it was a way to mess with Christians or something. Like they thought it would freak out the Texas bumpkin. But it just keeps coming out, though. It's a system they're controlling. And I'm not saying you're a liar. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that I'm asking what the larger agenda here is of you going public. And now that you said he specifically said that he wanted to have sex with kids, well, I'm not saying that's true. I'm not saying you're a liar. It's a free world, a live show. You're saying it. I just wanted you to not say that chicken was code word for kids, because cheese pizza is in the FBI files.
Chicken is as well. You could look at it, my man. It's fine. Look, I don't have pictures of compromised material. I didn't actually witness the kid being hurt. If I did, I would probably be on murder trial right now, because I can't think of anything that would make me more angry. Why I came out is because I'm sick of the cult state trying to brainwash people and affect what's going on in our country. They're trying to stop all progress. They're trying to cover their ass, and I'm not into it.
Well, I was just trying to do a real discussion here, and so sure. Overall, I can't judge. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're right, but Wikipedia, as if they're right, they lie about all of it. They say chicken is underage boy slang for gay sex with an underage man.
Yeah.
So maybe he thought. So he said, "Let's talk about chicken." What else did he say?
In that conversation? No, period. I mean, he made pedophile jokes all the time, and like the way that they were delivered, I was like, oh my God, these are not jokes. This is disgusting, and it made me feel gross. It made me feel awful.
Has Seth called you since you went public a week ago?
No, and that's step one. Yesterday, I was accused of being a cokehead by some random guy I've never met on the internet. Right away, I went to him. I'm like, dude, I'm not a cokehead, man. Let's do a drug test today, okay? And I was like, I don't know why you would accuse me. And thank God he was enough of a man and said, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I did that. I'll take it down. I'm like, dude, thank you so much. Like, that was really cool of you. So if someone makes a horrible allegation against you, the first thing you do, if you have their phone number, is call them up and be like, what are you doing? But that never happened. There wasn't even a response, even up until like a couple days ago. Someone showed me something from Instagram. How do you respond to these allegations? Seth's like, what allegations? Who's saying what? It's just these evasive sociopathic games. All right.
No, I get it. It's a way to change the subject. You just know that we know how Hollywood is sending out another. I'm not saying you're a snot-nosed, trendy to like game us here and fly over the country. That's why we already have total proof. The Total Pedophile Network. We're destroying it all right now. America's coming back. Chi-Com networks are being lined up right now and giving helicopter rides. So all I'm telling you is that we're going to look into all of this and we're going to find out what the truth is. And everybody that's involved in pedophilia is going to get a helicopter ride. So Because, see, we don't like to abuse children. We like to get our hands around monsters' necks and squeeze until their eyeballs bulge out and then their eyes disappear. And we just sent them straight to hell where the jaws of the devil are waiting. Yeah, the old boy singing this song, he's never been accused when he kids. He likes those big old grain-fed blondes. Children not to walk my way. Mother, father, can you keep them in the dark for life? Can you hide them from the way that world? No, mother, father. Gonna show them my world. Now, we're showing them the real world. We've already shown them. We've already defeated the globalists. We've already defeated Hollywood. We've already defeated the system as long as we accept Christ in our lives. But, Tom, you had a great point. I'm not going to judge our guest, Isaac Cappy. Very interesting, riveting character over here. And we know Hollywood's infested with this soul-sucking of every type. As big as, I just studied it, as big as pedophilia, debasing black men and making them take drugs and have heart attacks and raping them is another weird thing. So they want to suck off black people, kids, you name it. I guess anything they see as having a life force. And it's truly sickening. But you had a really good point, like, because this smells of Pizzagate.
Right. Well, you know, I think part of the reason we all get upset about this type of stuff is because we all do care about kids. We want kids to be safe. And part of the thing that really brought a lot of people down with Pizzagate is there was a bit of misdirection, and it was all from the media. They got us focusing on an Italian restaurant, and it was all about this Italian restaurant. It wasn't about the emails or the code. It was, let's get inside this restaurant.
Not about the emails. It's about Russians. Not about the emails. About this pizza place.
And now it feels like, and again, I'm not accusing you of anything. You seem like you've got an important.
It's not about the whole pedophile thing and James Gunn admitting it. It's about Seth Rogen.
Well, and it's about this Malibu thing with the hidden bookcase in this room.
Just like it won't be there when the news crews get there, just like there's no basement.
And then before you know it, somebody is saying, oh, somebody's trying to kill Seth Green. You know, somebody snuck it out.
Alex Jones said there was a hidden door and kids chained up with teddy bears.
And so I think that's the real reason we're, concerned. we're we don't want that to happen.
Tom, you made great points here. Isaac Cappy, tell me if I'm wrong here.
Well, I would like to address that. Look, I have been studying, I've been a scholar of truth since 9/11 happened because I knew something was horribly wrong. And I get why people are so doubtful. They're so quick to call me a controlled op or this or that. Like, look, people always ask, why doesn't anyone from Hollywood, why don't they come out? Why are there no whistleblowers? Well, I'm right here, okay? And this is like the best you're going to get for now until someone with all the blackmail material
Well, I'm a whistleblower. I've been at like private super A-list deals, and I'm like, those girls are not 16, maybe 16. I mean, I've seen it.
I don't doubt you have, but you haven't been intimate friends with these people like I have. But maybe you have and haven't talked about it. Yeah, I'm assuming there. But I know a lot of people in Hollywood. And
you do. See, the top people that tried to recruit me were the producers and the directors and the lawyers. I skipped right past the actors. You understand the actors they're like the minions, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it should be noted, though, that Seth Green has a big production company with a bunch of TV shows under his banner.
No, I agree. You're not anybody till you're a producer or a director. So I'm just saying, like, everyone ass kisses actors. In my experience, the actors are like the zombies. The wizard in the castle is the producer. The director is then the person carrying out the Frankenstein event.
You are very, very much over the mark right now with that. These are the guys that you need to look at. Actors, they want to roll, they want to keep working, they want to eat, The producers are the ones pulling the strings, and they're kind of dictating Hollywood policy.
Who's hosting the fourth hour? I'm not mad. I'm going to put up my sheet here. Roger Stone's coming up. We're going to do one more segment with Mr. Cappy and Tom Pappert of Trump God Emperor. Stay with us. We'll be back in T-minus 60 seconds. Infowars.com, newswars.com. See what Cappy says for himself at Isaac Cappy on Twitter. We'll be right back in T-minus 60 seconds. Tom Pappert, who runs one of our big TV stations, covers a third of Kansas, is here with us. Great talk show host in his own right. 200 million views on YouTube, over 1 billion views on Facebook. I looked at the analytics. God Emperor Trump banned the day, a week and a half ago, they had the censorship hearings. And then you've got Matt Gaetz, who is super smart, super eloquent, who he wanted to champion, believing he'd kiss the butt of Google and Facebook and Twitter. They totally banned him the next day. Again, it's that classic thing of signaling weakness or even that you want to work with these people. No. The fact that you represent old line prosperity, free market America, conservatism, the fact that your dad's a billionaire and not part of the establishment, Gaetz, they don't care. You could give them your children to eat. They're going to eat you after that.
That's exactly right. You know, that's the thing. You cannot make friends with these people. They are not interested in befriending the conservatives. They don't want to talk to us. They don't want us to exist. They tell us openly.
They want to conquer us because they existentially hate themselves.
Right. Right. So this whole thing of people, you know.
Look at how one patriot can kick the ass of 20 Antifa when a woman can beat up 10 of them. It's that they don't have souls. We're not starting the fights, but can you imagine how much they hate our existence?
Right. I was watching a video. They were celebrating it on a left-wing Facebook page of 3 or 4 right-wingers getting absolutely mobbed by like 15 or 20 different guys. It was like jackals. It was like hyenas. It was insane. And they celebrate this and they venerate it, but it takes 15 of them to take down 2. It's kind of reassuring in a sense, I suppose.
See, I'd go into goblin mode and just be unbelievable. That's why I can't get in those positions, because I'm not the toughest guy around on average. But when I get like that, at least back when I was younger, I'd probably have a heart attack and die. I black out. It's like, it's not a good situation.
Right. And those people don't know what to do with that. They've never probably been in a fight before. I mean, we saw the one guy when Rufio was sitting in this chair a couple weeks ago, probably the first fight the guy had ever been in, and it may be the last. I mean, it's par for the course.
But we don't have to fight guys like Rufio, because big, badass dudes aren't out bullying.
That's right.
It's always cowards.
That's right.
I don't understand it. Like, why they want to act like this, why they want to hurt a child. Like, I'm not attracted to children other than I want to be sweet to them and laugh at them, and they're so beautiful and so good. But this evil force wants to suck them and hurt them and take their soul. Listen, Isaac Cappy, one thing I've learned is I don't judge people till the facts come out. Hollywood is a devil-worshipping, soul-sucking pedophile playground. Disney hires all these people that are convicted pedophiles, raping, 9-year-old girls, boys, you name it. I'm not, and of course they make satanic clown movies, the very directors. I'm not saying you're a liar. I'm not saying you're wrong. All I'm saying is that we live in a world where cold-blooded leftists troll us with fake info to cover up real things that are happening. And so we have to be very, very careful about all that. But in closing, I wanted to give you 5 minutes or so before Roger Stone takes over. He can pop in. I heard you want to talk to him to just, get into your story and what you're doing and where you think this is going.
Sure. What you guys are talking about, I totally empathize with. People want the truth. They're very wary. Like, you don't know how many messages I got, like, don't go on Alex Jones. He's disinfo. He's this and that. I'm like, look, I just want to talk to the guy. I just want to get this message out. Like, there is a problem.
Oh, they want to gatekeep who communicates. What does it matter if we agree or disagree?
Exactly. And it's like, look, I just want to get this out on as many platforms as possible this week, because just the disinfo about me and it's been off the charts. Yesterday I got kind of depressed, but today I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to pay it any mind anymore, because it's counterproductive. I have a very, very simple message. The message is, I believe that we should live in a world where the human spirit flourishes and where children are not preyed upon, raped, and murdered. It's a very simple message. It's a nonpartisan message. And frankly, it's a common sense message, unless you're a sociopath, evil monster who just derives pleasure from destroying people. It is the most evil, insidious stuff, and I can't stand it. And that's why I came forward to fight. All right?
Well, I know from the cases that are admitted that is what these Hollywood producers are. I don't know about the ones you name. They're into dehumanizing people, and that the power of them being weak and pathetic before them. If someone's weak and pathetic, it doesn't make me feel big. It makes me feel bad. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine, I drive by some homeless person sitting in a pile of crap, and I go, God, I'm driving a nice car, and I'm doing good. Boy, I'm really big today.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like bullies, like people who feel confident in themselves and are loving, they don't need to be bullies. You know, they don't need to like prey on those that are smaller than them. They don't need to prey on those that are like poorer than them or not as smart as them. Like to be a loving person. We've got like
a trillion planets to populate, so you know.
Yeah.
The thing is that adversity breeds men, prosperity breeds monsters. And everything is about making it all soft and dumb and be a victim and lay down and die so we can control you. This is, if you were trying to kill the planet, this is the spirit you would be injecting. And all I say is the left and the Democrats, the Republican establishment, everything they do is about killing that spirit. And Trump is about saying, you're powerful, you're beautiful, you're an overcomer, you're amazing. That's so Christ-like. I mean, my gut goes Trump. And then intellectually, I see it all too. But it's like, how do they not see? Like,
well, you know, one thing is they seem to thrive off tearing people down and belittling people. And you look at them. I mean, I don't know about, again, the names that have been mentioned today, but you look at some of the people who have been outed and it's confirmed. And it's like you could see that guy in high school was the little guy who would plot and plan and always be scheming and nobody had any friends with him and he blamed the world. And so it's always this type of person, right, where they get off on taking people apart. And it's probably because they themselves had something go wrong, whether it was a bad upbringing or who knows, but they thrive on it.
Well, they were abused. And then they go to Hollywood, and it's a big, giant fly zapper, right. a big web where they can now be in charge. And the cheerleader that wouldn't date them, they're going to crap all over her and make them eat their poop. That's what they do. You know, that's one level of it. Like the Pope talks about, that's what he likes to do, reportedly. I mean, think about that. Like, you want to take some beautiful woman and humiliate her because some woman was rude to you when you were 12 years old.
Yeah, well, I can't get behind the ethos. I can't think of what does that. And it's kind of like our guest says, you know, these are sick people. It's some kind of mental illness, whether it's sociopathy or something else. The need to tear somebody down so you can feel better. That cannot be normal in human nature.
So what is it where all I want to do is build people up? Like, I have like a pro-human narcissism. Like, I'm in love with humanity. I have all these visions of what we're going to do. I'm like obsessed with it. I don't
I feel the same way, man. I think you know, we've had this system where, and obviously it's not just Hollywood. It's pharmaceuticals. It's the food we eat. Like we have systems of enslavement that have held down the human spirit. The schooling, and I'm tired of it. You know.
And again, they don't have bases here to do it. They send a transmission. It's spiritual. There's a transmission probably emanating out of, you know, one of the black holes. They think. Seriously, that's what. That's saying die, 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 kill yourselves, be scumbags. Because there's a transmission, like all these planets, kill yourselves. No, do not listen to the transmission. Because there's a bigger transmission from God saying don't do it.
And that's all it really takes. You know, the unifying message of God is really what it takes. I mean,
we have to receive the transmission.
Right. Right. And it gives you the power you need to reject what they're throwing at us, what they're bombarding with us 24/7. I mean, really, I think that is a wonderful armor to put yourself in to keep this type of stuff from infecting you. But I know people can find it other ways, but I think it is
God's free will, so you have to ask Christ in. Listen, Isaac Cappy, you have a lot of courage regardless of what you're doing. I'm not saying you're a bad guy or a good guy. I know this is happening in Hollywood. We really appreciate your time. I know you want to talk to Roger Stone. So
can you see me right now?
Yeah, I can see you.
Oh, there we are. Okay, yeah, Alex, thanks so much for having me on. You know, I've watched you for years as well, so you have been very brave.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you want to talk to Roger Stone?
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to.
Well, we're going to come right back in 3 minutes. You're going to talk to him. One more segment. Everybody stay here. This is, well, regardless, it's thought-provoking. Well, Tom Peppert, who runs one of our big cable TV networks in Kansas, reaching a third of the states, riding shotgun with us. Roger Stone's about to take over. I appreciate letting me jump in today. But we're talking to Isaac Cappy, who's been in a lot of big movies and is on record being friends with Seth Green and others. And he's claiming that there's all these pedophilic things going on. We know the Deputy Pope and all these cardinals are getting busted. We know James Gunn's promoting pedophilia. We know that's all going on. But he wanted to talk to Roger Stone. He heard earlier, hey, Roger Stone's coming on. I go, I'd love to talk to him. So I'd love to get Roger just in this segment. And Roger's got a bunch of news on Mueller, and all that craziness and, you know, what's happening there. And but go ahead, Isaac Cappy. You're on the air with Roger Stone.
Roger, what's up, buddy?
Great to be here.
The reason I want to talk to Roger is Roger was involved. The the NXIVM thing, he like kind of was involved in kind of maybe getting that information out a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
That's absolutely accurate. I'm one of the whistleblowers who helped bring the NXIVM cult down, although by my, as I have said, at the very early juncture in which I was briefly involved with them and therefore able to see up close what they were doing, I could see that they were some kind of financial scam, that they were hooking on to these wealthy children of very wealthy parents who had trust funds, the K-Fritz family in Washington, D.C., the Bronfman family. There was no sign of sexual abuse or pedophilia. The women who I met were all middle-aged housewives dealing with self-esteem issues and taking this course. The staff was not people with nubile young things. I think that came later. I sensed a financial scam first. To his credit, Frank, I went and met with Frank Parlato, who had a similar experience. He worked for them briefly, and then is more responsible for exposing them than anyone else. He is the one who gives the New York Times information of the branding, of the harem. These happen years after I have left. But he would tell you, and has written it, I was a major source for his takedown. It's important to understand that for a long time, for example, the Albany Times-Union broke a very good investigative story on the cult, but when the Bronfman's lawyers threatened the newspaper, they fired their reporter. So this story took a long time to break.
But let's be clear, it's take a bunch of middle-aged depressed women, say you're going to get help, make them even more insecure to suck the money out of them. I mean, that's what this was like a weird anorexic starvation cult. So some little needle, you know what, to take control. And they had a bunch of so-called Hollywood starlets there luring the women in.
It was extraordinary. One of the women I met was the actress Catherine Oxenberg, who is a great lady of enormous grace and charm and beauty. She, of course, is the daughter of a princess of Yugoslavia. Her daughter has tragically been swallowed up by this cult, is still essentially being held captive. But it's an example of the monsters these people turned out to be. And for a long time, they bought a lot of political influence in New York State inside the Hillary Clinton machine. Well, I don't think we have yet seen the extent to which they bought protection for a long time.
By the way, I knew cults were out there and understand how they operate, but until I was famous, I didn't experience they target your ex-wife, they target your kids, they target everybody around you with offers of money, whatever. And there's just all these operators. And you look at senators and congressmen and billionaires, almost all their kids and wives are like peeled off by cults. How the hell do they do this? 'Cause we ought to like sell a book or a DVD explaining it to successful people, how to keep your family, because you're off working all day doing stuff. These people know how to creep in, they know how to tell you what you want. They'll use a psychologist you go to that gives you a psychic that says, oh, your husband's cheating on you. And then they'll send you to this, and they put you into and they're all sharing your information. It's beyond what you ever heard about with Scientology. It's like the left is a mind control cult.
Well, you're absolutely right, Alex. And I think many Americans are unaware of the extent to which pedophilia is existent among some of the upper classes, certainly in Europe, but even here in the United States. In my book, The Bush Crime Family, I outlined the Bush family's ties to a pedophilia ring that is being run out of Nebraska in the Franklin scandal. Nick Bryant's epic book about this exposes George Bush's participation. We know that Jeffrey Epstein had Bill Clinton and Hillary as guests to his island. We know, for example...
you told the story that Trump told you on air. Trump one time got invited, what, in Florida, to Epstein birthday party, and Trump walks in like I've done in Hollywood, and like, these girls look like they're 15 years old. He's out of there. Retell that story briefly.
Yeah, well, Trump was knew Epstein because Epstein was a member of Trump's private club in Palm Beach, which cost $650,000 which entitles you to pay for food, and it's a place to see and be seen. It's interesting because it has a beach club, but it has no golf course or anything else. It's just essentially a dining club, and it's a magnificent restoration of the old property.
But it's an elitist meeting facility.
And anyway, so the reason that that Trump was going, because Epstein was a paying member, so he is driving up to the driveway and he sees all these young girls in a swimming pool adjacent to the house. And he says to his driver, you know, that Jeff is such a nice guy, letting the neighborhood kids use his pool. It wasn't until he got inside and saw a disproportionate number of younger women and older men that he greeted his host and said, I've got to go, and was out of there. That's the extent of it. There were allegations about Trump and Epstein during the campaign. They were manufactured. They were the work of the Clinton.
Well, it all came out. It was Jane Doe's. It was all made up. But I mean, there you go. And it turns out Mueller is involved for 10 years with Epstein, letting him run these operations to blackmail people. And then Bill Clinton's like, I love to be blackmailed. Mueller watches my videos all day. He doesn't do it himself. He likes to play with his little, you know what, while he watches me. And reportedly Clinton's, you know, goes like this, bends downwards. So, like, I mean, Mueller's like watching Clinton, like, bam, 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 these 10-year-olds. This is really fun for him. I mean, this is.
Well, I think it is fair to say that the FBI used Mr. Epstein as an informant. Recognize that he could have been and should have been charged based on the investigation by the Palm Beach Police Department with child trafficking and child rape and so on. He pled to one count of solicitation, for which he spent 15 months in the air-conditioned Palm Beach jail. This was fixed because he was an IRS informant.
Well,
and again, Bill Clinton flew on the airplane. Well, let's come back and let Cappy get his little comment.
I misspoke. An FBI informant. I misspoke. Pardon me.
Just, you know. Well, you know, listen, Robert Mueller sits there with those cameras sitting on that plane, we know, and he watches it all. He doesn't get involved. He just has all those on his wall, little CDs, and, you know, he gets there at night, and, you know, I hate you, but I love you. I do hate the globalists, but because I love my family so much. Riding shotgun is Tom Pappert. We have Roger Stone. We have Isaac Cappy here with us. Cappy is going to leave here in a minute. He's a busy beaver. And Roger Stone has ultra exclusives on the Manafort trial, huge exclusives on everything. He was telling me earlier. So I'm really being a bad person here, even digressing into all this. But, Roger, any other comments about the head pope in D.C., the head pope in Australia, all the pedophilia coming out, the wheels coming off? What do you think the next shoe to drop is here, Roger Stone?
Well, there's a group of people out there on the internet who fervently believe that Jeff Sessions has some secret sealed indictments of hundreds for pedophilia and other political corruption, and that Guantanamo is being prepared for their arrival. There was an executive order that was encouraging, that David Knight covered very extensively, that appeared to give the president the rights to grab these criminals. But there is no such plan, and Jeff Sessions has been put on the spot today by Donald Trump. The president called on Sessions to end the Russian witch hunt probe. He didn't order him to do it, which is what I would have done, but he urged him to do so, and of course, Sessions will not do so.
So let me ask you that question before you get to what the hell's going on with Sessions? I mean, we've been talking this forever, but this guy is pathetic. He is one of the most hated people in America now after his great record. What is wrong with him?
Nobody that worked for him in the U.S. Senate currently works for him. He has handlers inside the DOJ. Rosenstein runs the place from the top to the bottom, and they treat the attorney general like a kindly old Southern gentleman, and they kid him, and no order he gives is carried out if it's contrary to the desires of the de facto attorney general.
So that's the coup d'etat, is the Justice Department.
I don't think there's any question about this. A very prominent congressman who has appeared on this show went for a meeting to discuss the seriousness of the FISA warrant question. And instead, he got a 45-minute harangue about the evils of medicinal marijuana. It was something out of reefer madness. So I think
Sessions basically has dementia.
I think that there are early signs of dementia. Look, I think he had a very able staff in the Senate. He has none of those people working for him now. Now he has people selected for him by Rod Rosenstein running his office.
All right. I want you to take over because you've got, I mean, I say bombshell, huge stuff, exclusives on Mueller, exclusives on Manafort, all this huge stuff. Cappy, we'll talk to you soon. I appreciate your time. I have no doubt that bears go bathroom in the woods and that Hollywood's a pedophile devil cult. So we'll continue to watch what you say. I don't know about the names you name or any of that. That's your own personal statements. But you got to talk to Roger. You wanted to come on with Roger. So did you want to add anything else?
Just thanks for having me. I appreciate getting a platform out. I understand how people are skeptical because people in the so-called truth community think I'm a Hollywood plant. People in the mainstream media think I'm well, I don't even know what they're saying about me, but it's just it's a message that needs to get out from a real life person that knows these people. So thank you.
Sure, but if you said Hollywood, you know, okay, at Jack Nicholson's house, like, you know, that came out 30 years ago, Roman Polanski raped a 13-year-old girl. That happened. We can prove that. So if you said I was at this house and this Hollywood person did this, then you could say something. We already have the convictions. We have it. No one covers it. And the media is kind of hyping on what you're doing. That's why we get concerned. Thank you so much. Cappy, we're going to talk to you soon. We appreciate you. Tom, closing comments for Roger Stone takes over in his own hour, 15 minutes away from the show being over. He'll be on the War Room coming up after that. And by the way, you should come on the second hour, Roger. You should come on right away with Owen and just break all this down. You've got so much huge stuff to cover. But Cappy's leaving us, but you want to say anything?
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to thank everybody here at InfoWars for bringing me on and covering censorship. There's not a lot of outlets left out there that are willing to do it because then you get censored and taken down. So these people are brave, they're hardworking, and I'm thrilled to be here.
But you get how the chain works. Don't cover censorship or we'll ban you, but by the time you're banned, no one will cover it. So they hang together, hang separate. People don't get that.
That's right. That's exactly right. And you might as well fight it. We're all in this together. We might as well fight it together.
But I envisioned all this. That's why we have hundreds of radio stations and hundreds of TV stations and our own streams. We were always preparing for this.
Right.
And then they freak out like we're hitting him and he's not going away because we've been digging in for 20 years, idiots.
Right.
like our offense is only part of our defense. You're awesome, brother. Thank you for being here. Roger Stone, you got 4 minutes to break. Take over.
Well, Alex, I noticed you were not in last Friday, and I think it's time for people to know that you were successful in the Redondo Beach Ulysses S. Grant lookalike contest. In all seriousness,
I'm working on that.
People really like the beard. I'm still getting massive comments. Obviously, Owen Schroyer wants to be your
my Robin to Batman.
Yeah, your mini me.
Well, that's the thing is
more like your mini me.
There's no media coverage, but everyone loves it.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I would stick with it for absolute sure.
Well, I mean, I'm a married man, but let's just say this: I'm not bragging. Women are throwing themselves at me. I don't know. Do I look like the Tsar Nicholas? Is that what happened? Like I look like Tsar Nicholas? So I don't know what's happening here.
It does have kind of a Tsar Nicholas quality to it. I hadn't made that inference, but we'll get into this here. The Manafort trial broke. Talk about a rocket docket. I'm not sure how they got through jury selection so quickly, but there was big news today when the Mueller prosecutors pounding on the wealth and lavish lifestyle of Paul Manafort over and over again in their opening statement gets interrupted by the judge, unheard of in the federal courts, who says, I want to instruct the jury, it is not a crime to be wealthy in America. It is not a crime to make money in America. A setback for the prosecutors who didn't touch on any Russian collusion, but only focused on the fact that Manafort made millions and millions of dollars. Incredibly, Paul Manafort, every night after trial, is taken back to jail where he spends the night and is brought in the next morning for trial. How you would prepare for a trial under those circumstances, not be able to confer all night with your lawyers, is unthinkable. But Kevin Downing, I think it is, or Kevin Downs, who is Manafort's chief lawyer, told a gaggle in the parking lot that there was no circumstance under which Manafort would plead. He would not plead out to these charges, and he would not plead out to the D.C.-based charges against him. Tad Devine, chief consultant for Bernie Sanders, testified as a government witness, but said in his comments that Manafort was among the most ethical and honest people that he knew. So all in all, Manafort is on trial with what promises to be many twists and turns.
During the break, you added one little bit to that. You said in the parking lot, this is an exclusive, Manafort is rolling the dice on the jury.
Yes, pardon me, the exact quote. I should have used the exact quote. What the lawyer said is he will not plead. He is going to roll the dice with the jury. A much better turn of phrase than I gave it. So Manafort, under enormous pressure, refuses to fold. We're going to see what the prosecution does when we get to the discovery portion.
And I want to be clear. I believe in America and Trump and all of you. I'm betting on you. We may be destroyed, but I'm rolling the dice on you. I believe in you. I'm rolling the dice. I believe in you. I'm rolling the dice on you. We'll be back.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm Roger Stone. To give you some idea of the impact we have here at InfoWars, we were the first to break the news that it was Mueller's intention to offer immunity to Tony Podesta, who had worked with Paul Manafort, brother of Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. First, they tried to do a head fake, releasing the 5 names of witnesses given immunity in Virginia, but it is not in the Virginia trial that Mr. Podesta should be charged. The uproar caused by this announcement, I believe, caused the special counsel to send a letter of referral to the Southern District of New York. I stress to you that is not a prosecution. That is a decision to be made by the Southern District some point down the road. So in my view, this is a head fake, a feint. It doesn't mean that Tony Podesta will be prosecuted, but I would still not be shocked to see him subpoenaed as a witness for, I would be shocked if he is not a witness for the government. So in the Manafort trial, we also established that after Manafort left the campaign, due to the New York Times story regarding his Ukrainian business activities, his longtime associate and deputy, Rick Gates, remained. The Manafort defense went to great lengths to establish that fact. Where this is going to lead on the second day of trial, we do not yet know. Also, in related activities, I can tell you, because my lawyers have informed me, that Kristen Davis, my longtime friend, once the notorious Manhattan Madam, now working to start a cosmetology business, testified before a grand jury in Washington, D.C., presumably about yours truly. The irony of this is that Kristen Davis, who is a fine person and a very bright woman who's remade her life, and there you have her, and her son, Carter Stone Davis, was not working for me in either 2015 or 2016. Yet this has not stopped Robert Mueller's directed FBI agents to ask a half dozen of my friends whether I am the father of Kristen Davis's baby. What does that have to do with Russian collusion or the 2016 election? It's just more proof that this is a witch hunt in which people who know nothing are dragged through the ringer. Now, Kristen Davis had to get child care, has to pay $10,000 to a lawyer to be browbeat by the prosecutors. The witch hunt continues. At the same time, I want to remind you the epic consequences of what are reported to be conversations between the British government and the government of Ecuador about seizing and extraditing Julian Assange. This is completely outrageous. Assange hasn't done anything that the New York Times and the Washington Post don't do. Even the Obama Justice Department determined if you prosecuted Assange for the publication of classified documents, you would have to prosecute most of the first-rate media outlets and reporters in the United States. So go to the website, if you will. The claim that that Assange is a Russian asset is a lie. Look at who is telling you this: Clapper, Brennan, McCabe, Comey, Mueller. Why would you believe them? We know in the Vault 7 disclosures by WikiLeaks that the CIA has the ability to hack a computer system and leave fingerprints to make it appear like someone else is responsible for the hack. So we are being asked to watch this professional journalist put his life at jeopardy. It's important to understand that the charges against him in Sweden, sexual assault charges, were cooked up by M16. It's a classic British honeypot. Under examination, those charges collapsed. He is only wanted in the UK for bail jumping. And the idea of extraditing him here to face trial may be because the president knows that on trial, Assange would likely produce evidence of who he received the DNC material from that was allegedly hacked. In other words, Assange would prove that this wasn't hacked by the Russians. How do we know he would do this? He has said it numerous times that he has this information and he's willing to turn it over. And it's interesting that the American government has never asked him to do so. I'm not sure why we have Michael Cohen up there for a second. So the Assange fight is one of the most important. If you like what Alex Jones is doing here, and you're as outraged as I am at the unprecedented wave of censorship that is directed at Alex Jones and InfoWars across all platforms. It's not just Facebook, it's YouTube, it's Periscope. It is, by any measure, an effort to first smear and silence Alex Jones. No, he did not post a video that advocated violence by adults against children. That is false. They won't show you the video he did post in its entirety because it would prove the point. This is just like the claims against him regarding Parkland and Sandy Hook and so on. If anybody will stop and examine what he actually said, you can see the falsity and the ferocity of this campaign. Why are they going after Alex Jones and InfoWars? Why are they trying to shut down Roger Stone and David Knight and Owen Schroyer and so many other talented investigative journalists? And the answer is because we are the tip of the spear. We really are not afraid to go anywhere. And that cannot be said for any other alternative, conservative-leaning website. And therefore, only Tucker Carlson and Matt Drudge have stood tall on this question. Many of our fellow conservatives and lovers of liberty should wake up to the fact that if they are successful in banning Alex Jones, they will come for Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Mike Savage next. All men I admire. This is the test case. What is the point of this? Well, it is going to cost millions of dollars to fight this war of censorship and fight the harassment lawsuits filed against InfoWars and Alex Jones, the purpose of which is to create headlines that can then be put in front of a judge. You can go to the Infowars.com site and make a contribution to InfoWars there. There you see the link for the Stone Defense Fund. Yes, Robert Mueller has me under a microscope. Yes, Robert Mueller having come up empty-handed with any proof of Russian collusion or WikiLeaks collaboration or John Podesta's email certainly could railroad me, frame me for some other offense. And therefore, I have to stockpile a war chest because I have already burned through hundreds of thousands of dollars in the House and Senate Intelligence Committee investigations and the various lawsuits against me. There you have it. Go to the Infowars.com store, and if you're not in the market for one of our great nutraceuticals, or you don't want to buy my great book, Stone's Rules, or maybe you already bought it, you can make a contribution of $25, $50, $100, $500, or more for this vital fight. We are up against it, folks. Alex Jones is a marked man. They want to stop these broadcasts on YouTube, and we have no choice but to fight this war of censorship on every front. Frankly, the House Republicans are finally starting to get it, that they are the ultimate target. 100 members of Congress shadow banned on Facebook, all because of the efforts of a handful to bring this to the president's attention. At the end of the day, the president must weigh in this vital fight and ensure the true neutrality of the net and the equal access for everyone. I'm Roger Stone. This was the Alex Jones Show. It's been my privilege to be here. Stick with us, and on the other side, we take your phone calls at the War Room with my colleague, Owen Schroyer. And before I get one more time, go to the Infowars.com store and grab my new book, Stone's Rules. I think you will enjoy it. It is a field manual for victory. We'll see you at the War Room.
We're breaking the conditioning!
Infowars comes to mind.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
There's a lot of controversy around this network about Alex Jones.
Google is being accused of hiding negative stories about Hillary and her campaign by changing its algorithm to bury stories like the Clinton body count story. That's according to website Infowars.
It sounds like it's confirmed there are at least 2 shooters with fully automatic weapons.
Dr. Martin Luther King has been shot to death in Memphis, Tennessee.
JFK was shot from the back and the front.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
They took the babies out of incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
I think this is a national security imperative. We have clear things that we do not understand how they work, operating in areas that we can't control.
UFOs.
Is this global governance at last? Is it one world, the central bankers in charge?
Israel claims the attack was accidental, but some former U.S. naval officers say it was on purpose. They describe the day's action as part of a continuing cover-up.
Russian intelligence compiled a dossier on Mr. Trump during visits to Moscow.
Russian scum!
Denied everything. He called it all fake news.
And he accused CNN of being fake news.
This is a national emergency.
If they kill Trump or remove Trump, it will cause a massive civil war in this country.
This is a FEMA high-level alert.
We are at war with Russia.
Are you aware that Mr. Stone also stated publicly that he was in direct communication with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks?
The White House and the president are citing Infowars.
They could shut us down. You're next.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance. It's Alex Jones.
You know, President Trump talks about how we need to be trailblazers, how we need to be outsiders, how we need to expose the current stagnant system that's been suppressing us, wanting to make us poor so he can consolidate control and buy us up for pennies on the dollar. That really is the globalist system. And he's absolutely right. So it is an honor to be persecuted by the globalists, and to be lied about and to be demonized. But it's an honor to draw them out so we can show who they are, so that you take action and you take the country back politically, culturally, spiritually, financially. Another hero is Julian Assange, who's been in solitary confinement in a closet-sized room. They converted a closet with a bed and enough room for a laptop. They took that away over a year ago. No communication with the outside. It's all been one hell of a time for him, and he was very bipartisan in that he exposed Republicans, he exposed Democrats. He very judiciously released information that exposed criminal activity of the NSA, criminal activity of the CIA, illegal spying on Congress, illegal spying on Trump, illegal spying on me. But they had my home number, my old cell, my new cell, and my office line. And they had Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago private apartment number that I had. Total proof of Obama spying on Trump and yours truly a decade ago. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the real deal. And America's had freedom so long, people don't recognize real tyranny when it hits them right between the eyes. But everyone needs to go to Infowars.com. The article is right up there at the top of the page, red link. Petition to Trump, pardon Julian Assange. And we go over the fact that he engaged in regular journalistic activity and did a wonderful job being advised by top journalism professors around the world, and that he was very, very fair about what he did, and that you need to send the message that he's a hero. Now, I know they claim he's a Russian agent with no evidence and all the rest of that garbage, even though they've released stuff on Russia and Israel as well, and China. But it doesn't matter. It's the right thing to do. And you wouldn't have gotten elected without Drudge. You wouldn't have gotten elected without what you've done, obviously. You can't say it's any one person, but without any of us together, it wouldn't have happened. So we need the president to pardon Julian Assange. And you said in a speech, I don't care who got her illegal server. It's illegal. It's about what she did that's wrong. Don't change the subject. Go back to that instinct, sir. But you told Assange, release it. You said release more stuff. And he's in the crosshairs. And he needs to be pardoned if he's brought back to the United States. Look at that. Everybody else is just like yellow or clear. That's because it's been denatured, it's been watered down. We didn't do that. You think I would metaphysically sell you something that is the very best I can get? I'd rather go to hell than do that. I will only give you the maximum best info, the maximum truth, the maximum product, because I want that goodwill. What I do to you, I do to myself. Don't you get the big secret? You ever seen fish oil look like that? No, you never seen that, have you? And this little jewel right here is solid, liquid consciousness. Look it up. Find out how even the FDA and the government admits fish oil is incredible. The number one thing anybody can do for themselves is take good fish oil or krill oil. Just like our information is dynamite, so are our products, InfoWarsStore.com.